Yi Mo got the silver heart grass very easily. He also found a piece of deep-sea buttonwood at Dao Xian's place. This made Yi Mo very excited and feel it was worth the trip. Yi Mo got the silver heart grass very easily. He also found a piece of deep-sea buttonwood at Dao Xian's place. This made Yi Mo very excited and feel it was worth the trip. The deep-sea buttonwood was not only a good material for making defensive amulets, but could also be used in flying swords. Once a flying sword has deep-sea buttonwood inside it, its defensive attributes would greatly increase. After getting the things, Yi Mo didn't kill Metal Mountain. Metal Mountain only had feud with Wu Xueming. Yi Mo wouldn't bother himself with these. He had already done what Wu Xueming wanted him to do and even eradicated Metal River in Luotsang. And Yi Mo knew that Metal River wouldn't be as stable as before. Perhaps Metal Mountain also knew, but that was none of Yi Mo's business. Qin Quanwan half-mount mansion. The middle-aged man knocked the table and said, "Luo Chen, it's the 6th day today. That doctor still has no news?" Luo Chen, who stood behind, respectfully said, "Boss, I've had people guarding the region. As soon as he reached near Qin Quanwan, we can find him. Mo Ping, if he still doesn't come by tomorrow, I will need to leave Hong Kong. It may be very hard for me to come out again. I will have to depend on you for Uncle Li," the woman beside him said. That middle-aged man called Mo Ping had some anger flash across his eyes, which disappeared very quickly. He turned and said, "Since Chong Wei says that, then of course, do as you please. I don't dare to stop your things." But even so, that woman had seen it. She had a disregarding look at the corner of her mouth, but she didn't say anything. After Mo Ping said that, he sighed before saying, "Luo Chen, go search. If there's news of that doctor, report back immediately." "Yes." Just when Luo Chen wanted to go out, a voice interrupted him and said, "No need, I have come." Mo Ping suddenly stood up and looked dazedly at Yi Mo. After a while, he finally spoke, "You. I'm that online doctor. Let's go see the patient." "I'm very busy," Yi Mo blandly spoke. This place really wasn't simple. There were people guarding from the bottom to the waist of the mountain. He didn't know who the owner of this place was, but Yi Mo was sure he wasn't in the underground world. Otherwise, that person should be at the meeting last night. At this moment, Chong Wei also stood up in shock. She studied Yi Mo in confusion. Someone who could appear here without her noticing was definitely a master amongst masters. Yi Mo then noticed this woman called Chong Wei. She was not yet 30 and had a sunflower seed-shaped face. Her faint makeup further portrayed her excellence. The only thing Yi Mo didn't like was the lines of her eyes were too hard, making her appear less feminine. What made him surprised was that this woman was also a master, although she was a little worse than Dao Xian, but she was definitely better than Wu Chang. "Who are you?" Chong Wei subconsciously asked. "Doctor," Yi Mo answered. Chong Wei frowned before saying again, "I'm saying who are you? How did you come in without me noticing at all?" Yi Mo scanned Chong Wei once. "Do you guys still want me to look at the patient? Otherwise, I'm leaving." He didn't answer Chong Wei's question. This woman was weird. It was none of her business who he was. At this moment, Mo Ping had reacted and quickly said, "Yes, yes, doctor, please this way. I'm Mo Ping. I'm the person who requested you online." Then he quickly took Yi Mo into a temple behind the mansion. Chong Wei heard Yi Mo's tone and was about to throw a tantrum, but she thought twice about it and didn't say anything. She would look for his trouble after Yi Mo treated the patient. Yi Mo had seen the man lying on the bed. His face was scrawny and emaciated. He was in his 50s and unconscious. There were also 2 nurses looking after him. Mo Ping told the 2 nurses to leave before respectfully saying to Yi Mo, "Doctor, this is my uncle Mo Kong. He had been unconscious for 2 years. He was—" Yi Mo stopped Mo Ping. "You don't need to say anything else. Go out now, I'm going to treat him." "Doctor, I also need to leave." Mo Ping asked in surprise. Of course, Yi Mo wouldn't let them know he was using cultivation means, so he wouldn't let Mo Ping stay inside. Seeing that Yi Mo didn't talk, Mo Ping sighed and said, Okay, I'll go out. May I ask how long you will need, and what things do I need to prepare? Yi Mo shook his head and said, Nothing, just go out. I will come out after I'm done. I'm uncertain about the time, but if someone interrupts me during my treatment, they will pay for the consequences. Chang Wei, who wanted to see how Yi Mo was going to treat the patient, was now kicked out by Yi Mo for no reason, felt more uncomfortable. She felt this doctor was too unreasonable. After the two had left, Yi Mo closed the door and checked out this temple. He felt strange. There was a good mansion, so why did he have to live in the temple? But this wasn't something he should be concerned with. After making sure there was no surveillance, he then looked at the man on the bed. Yi Mo felt this person's pulse. It was very slow, but it didn't stop. He ran his qi through the patient's body and checked. Yi Mo immediately knew this wasn't a vegetable. He was attacked by insidious means like Shui Aigua's son. The only thing was that the attacker was very careful to make the man a vegetable, but not take his life. Yi Mo checked the means done to the man. Somebody had forcefully prevented him from awaking, so he could only stay in an unconscious state. The perpetrator not only had great inner qi mastery, but also medical mastery. The difference was that Zhuo Huatang only had a sliver of inner qi left in his head by someone casually. The attacker didn't care if Zhuo Huatang died or not. Meanwhile, for this patient, the inner qi was used intentionally to make the patient a vegetable. The technique was much more complex. Yi Mo was sure that even the attacker wasn't sure if he could make the patient recover. If he wasn't a cultivator who had spirit sense and could use cultivation qi however he liked, then he also wouldn't be able to cure this person. Yi Mo took out a set of needles and immediately pierced into the patient's chest and head. With the use of qi, the few nerves that were blocked by medicine and inner qi were recovered by his qi. Half an hour later, Yi Mo took out the silver needles and sighed. He knew this person was fine. Although he was fine, Yi Mo still had a few questions to ask these people. He knew that this person would wake up at most 10 minutes later. As expected, in less than 10 minutes, the man opened his eyes. When he saw Yi Mo, he was confused and desperate and wanted to sit up immediately. However, he sat on the bed for too long. Even after Yi Mo treated him, he couldn't get up immediately. Who are you? The man asked on the bed. Yi Mo said, You have been unconscious for 2 years. I just woke you up. The man frowned as though thinking something, but soon his face changed immediately and said, Where am I? How can you save me? Seeing his face, Yi Mo knew he must have remembered something. So he could only say, This is Qin Quan Wan, in a private property in Hong Kong. I'm a doctor requested by your nephew Mo Ping to treat you. He said you have been unconscious for more than 2 years. Hong Kong? Mo Ping? So I'm out. Who sent me out? Suddenly, the man looked at Yi Mo with uncertainty and said, No way. You definitely won't be able to treat my disease. I know my disease, I know. The man's voice got lower and lower, at least revealing his melancholy and loss of hope. Yi Mo frowned and said once again, I'm a doctor. I treat people and get paid. I don't need you to admit I treated you. Someone will pay me later. I will just ask you one thing. Who could use inner qi and medicine so perfectly to turn you into a vegetable? Of course, if you don't want to say, then never mind. And you're right, other than me, no one else can cure your disease. The man heard Yi Mo's words and looked at Yi Mo once again with uncertainty. You know my condition is artificial? You really saved me? Isn't? The man said, and seemed to have thought of something. Yi Mo got up and was prepared to leave. Since the man didn't want to talk, he didn't want to talk too. He would get his money and leave. Wait, I'll tell you. The man suddenly stopped Yi Mo. Seeing Yi Mo stop, he continued, I was indeed harmed. Since this is Hong Kong Qin Quan Wan, then it should be fine. Is there anyone else other than Mo Ping? Yi Mo replied, another woman called Chong Wei and someone else called Luo Qin. What? She's also here, the patient exclaimed. Yi Mo just wanted to know who did this to Mo Kong. But after hearing Mo Kang's words, he knew that Mo Kong also came from the hidden sections. Yi Mo just wanted to know who did this to Mo Kong. But after hearing Mo Kang's words, he knew that Mo Kong also came from the hidden sections 23 years ago. Mo Kong was already a plutocrat of Hong Kong. It was that year that he met Xia Ro, who came for a rites of passage in the mortal world. Xia Ro was a member of the hidden family Xia. They had feeling for each other, so they secretly promised their love for each other for eternity. At the end of that year, Xia Ro needed to go back to her family to participate in the hidden sect tournament every 3 years. And she never came back. Mo Kong immediately wanted to go find Xia Ro. Although Xia Ro told him how to enter the hidden sects, he still couldn't find her. However, Mo Kong didn't give up. He went again and again, spending countless money and effort before finally finding a way to enter the Xia family on the 16th year. But when he found the Xia family, he discovered that Xia Ro had married someone else tens of years ago. He was extremely angry. He couldn't go out, but even if he could, he would find Xia Ro and ask him why she betrayed him. When she left, she was already pregnant. Mo Kong wanted to ask where that child was. However, Mo Kong was a normal person who entered the hidden sect. He had no status in the Xia family and worked as a laborer for 4 years before finally hearing that Xia Ro married Zhang Fengji of Hong Martial Hall. But before he found Hong Martial Hall, he was attacked. Hearing Mo Kang's words, Yi Mo sighed. This Mo Kong was an emotional person. However, that Xia Ro seemed a bit heartless. Then he suddenly thought of Chong Wei and asked, "Who is Chong Wei?" Mo Kong sighed and said, "Chong Wei is Xia Ro's younger sister and married 10 years ago. However, before she reached her husband's house, her husband died. She's a widow and rarely went back to the Xia family. However, I don't know how she came this time to send me out." Hearing Mo Kang's words, Yi Mo sneered. Although he didn't know what exactly happened, but he wouldn't believe that Xia Ro didn't know what happened to Mo Kong. And if Xia Ro didn't know, how could Chong Wei send Mo Kong out? Mo Kong was too emotional that he couldn't even see her. In addition, perhaps Xia Ro was involved in Mo Kong becoming a vegetable. Or in other words, without Xia Ro, how could Mo Kong live in the Xia family for a few years, even as the lowest house slave? As for why Mo Kong must live in the temple, Yi Mo didn't ask. It was probably Chong Wei's idea, and he didn't need to know. Do you know how to enter the hidden sects? This was what Yi Mo was most concerned with. Mo Kong shook his head and said, "She just told me how to enter the Xia family. She didn't tell me about the other sections. Plus, I swore to her I wouldn't tell anyone. Although she betrayed me, I still don't want to break my oath." Yi Mo couldn't do anything, so he asked, "Then do you know the 3-year tournament? I heard there's one this year. Is it at Wu Liang Mountain?" Mo Kong looked at Yi Mo strangely and said, "You actually know Wu Liang Mountain?" However, he shook his head and said, "The tournament before was at Wu Liang Mountain, but the year I got to the Xia family, I heard that the tournament was no longer at Wu Liang Mountain. I heard the next tournament was 5 years later, which should be next year. The tournament is said to be held at a city in the normal world. As for where, I don't know." Yi Mo frowned and thought that Dao Xian told him it was at Wu Liang Mountain. Why would he trick him? He didn't need to. Seeing Yi Mo frown, Mo Kong said, "It is said that Wu Liang Mountain is place hidden sects are gathered the most, and there are many powerful hidden sects there. Normal people can't get in at all. Even if they do, it would be very hard for them to come out again." Yi Mo stood up. Although he didn't get much useful news, he still got some. Seeing that Yi Mo was preparing to leave, Mo Kong quickly said, "I know you're someone powerful, and since you want to know about the hidden sects, it means you really want to go in. Do you know about the spirit-sensing rock? Yi Mo was dazed. Of course, he knew it. It was the space abyssal rock. It was because he got it that he could make a storage ring. However, also because his power was limited and there wasn't much space abyssal rock that his ring only could store 3 cubic meters. But if he had enough space abyssal rock and his power improved, he could refine it more and make a larger storage ring. Hearing Mo Kong talk about space abyssal rock, he was immediately interested. Seeing that Yi Mo was interested in space abyssal rock, Mo Kong revealed a smile of relief. You treated my condition, so I don't feel it's enough no matter how much money I give you. You know, this stone is the best, and I know where it can be found. Yi Mo nodded and said, Indeed, this stone is very useful to me. Please tell me. Mo Kong, however, shook his head and said, I don't know the exact location, but I know a map of where these things are, and I heard it's in the Wuliang Mountain. The year when I was at the Xia family, I often secretly learned some techniques to defend myself since I was living at the bottom. Once, in a spacious training ground, I saw 2 young people. I still remember their conversation. That younger one told the older one that he found a place with lots of spirit-sensing stones and said that there were a lot of precious herbs. However, he said that he couldn't go in alone and needed to cooperate with him. He even took out a map. That older one immediately showed a joyful expression and agreed to the younger youth's proposition. Just when the 2 were prepared to leave, the older one suddenly took out a dagger and stabbed into the younger one's waist. The younger one didn't expect he would be assassinated by his pal, and before he died, he pulled out a sword and stabbed the older one. After both of them died, I snuck away the map. I've memorized the map. I will draw it for you, and there won't be a mistake. Mo Kong then signaled Yi Mo to get pen and paper. Yi Mo could tell from Mo Kang's expression that he didn't lie, so he casually took out a pen and paper in front of Mo Kong. Where did you get this from? There isn't any folding marks at all. Mo Kong looked at the paper in his hand and asked. Yi Mo smiled and didn't talk. Mo Kong immediately understood that he had his secrets, and so did other people. As such, he didn't talk anymore, and carefully drew out what he remembered. Yi Mo looked at the map. It was in the middle of a cliff and did seem very hard to reach. However, if there were space abyssal rocks at that place, Yi Mo would be able to find it with his spirit sense. He carefully packed the map away and said, Thank you very much, goodbye. Yi Mo waved his hand. Brother Mo, although I cured your condition, but if what you say is true, then what I've earned big. I don't need you to walk me out, but I still need to remind you. That Chong Wei is Xia Ro's sister, right? I suggest you pretend you're unconscious until she leaves. Goodbye. Mo Kong was dazed at Yi Mo's back as he left while thinking what Yi Mo's words meant. Why did he tell him to hide from Chiang Wei? Was this thing related to Chiang Wei? Mo Kong found sudden enlightenment. Chiang Wei was a woman from the hidden sects high above him. Why would she send him out? Even if it was convenient for her, there was no way unless someone told her to. Who could tell her to do that? Xia Ro? Or Zhang Fingji? Mo Kang's brains flashed as if he was about to grasp something, but eventually missed that tiny piece. He suddenly felt Yi Mo was right. No matter what, he couldn't tell Chiang Wei that he was awake. If Xia Ro requests Chiang Wei to send him out, then she also knew that he couldn't be cured. Then why did she still get someone to send him out? If Zhang Fingji requested Chiang Wei to do this, it meant that he had reached accordance with Xia Ro. That means he must not reveal he had woken up. Thinking about this, Mo Kong gradually understood, although there were still many things he didn't understand. But one thing was certain, and that was Xia Ro quite possibly knew of his circumstance. That doctor obviously noticed it. He has such an intricate brain. Seeing Yi Mo walk out, Mo Ping was extremely worried. He rushed up and asked, How is it, doctor? How is my uncle? Yi Mo saw that Mo Ping had real care in his eyes. He helpless shook his head and said, The situation is a bit difficult. I can't wake him up now, but I'll go back and think of ways. Hearing Yi Mo's words, Mo Ping's eyes were full of extreme disappointment. He immediately walked into the temple and didn't even mention about payment. That woman also had a contemptuous look while sneering. I thought you were very capable. It seems you are just garbage. Yi Mo couldn't be bothered with her and turned to leave. If what Mo Kong said was true, then it meant that he had received more than enough payment. Stop! The woman suddenly called out to Yi Mo. What else do you want? Yi Mo turned around and looked at Chong Wei. His spirit sense noticed that there was something different about Chong Wei's face, but he couldn't tell what exactly it was. What else do you want? Yi Mo turned around and looked at Chong Wei. His spirit sense noticed that there was something different about Chong Wei's face, but he couldn't tell what exactly it was. Chong Wei saw Yi Mo's plain face and was immediately angered. Her left leg suddenly kicked towards Yi Mo with lightning-fast speed. It was obvious that she wanted to kick over Yi Mo and teach him a lesson. Seeing that her leg was about to reach, and Yi Mo didn't do anything, Chong Wei felt relieved. It seemed that she overestimated this doctor. He didn't even time to react, much less counterattack. She didn't know how Mo Ping's people were so useless. Someone like this walked in, and they didn't even know. But the next moment, her face froze. She felt a sudden, excruciating pain. Her leg bone made cracking sounds. Not only did Yi Mo counterattack, but without holding back. If Chong Wei wasn't so careless, she wouldn't have her leg broken by Yi Mo in one move. But now, she could only hatefully sit on the ground and watch Yi Mo leave. Yi Mo was scared that his silver heart grass would wither if he left it in his storage ring too long, so he wanted to rush back to Luo Tsang and plan it. After leaving Qing Shui Wan, Yi Mo thought about whether he should buy a ticket and go invisible and ride the plane. Then, a woman in her 40s carried a little girl that was about 5 or 6 and rushed over. There was also a 10-year-old boy behind her. The woman seemed very distraught, as if running away from something. When she saw Yi Mo, she quickly avoided him. She was probably being chased. These things happened too much every day, and Yi Mo didn't take note of it. But soon, Yi Mo knew why, because a few men stopped in front of the woman. One of them, Yi Mo had seen before at the meeting last night. He was a bodyguard standing behind Jiao Biani. These people stopped the woman and reached out to grab the little girl in her hands. Yi Mo smiled and thought of how he should buy a plane ticket. He waved to that bodyguard and said, "Hey you, the one wearing the gray shirt, come here." Only that bodyguard wearing the gray shirt was called. As for the surrounding people, they all shook their heads. This young man didn't want to live. That was a person from Western Sands. He dared to wave at them to come over. As expected, the gray shirt turned around fiercely and looked. His lackeys had surrounded Yi Mo. "It's you." The gray shirt just said 2 words, and his face immediately changed. He quickly ran to Yi Mo and bowed. "Predecessor Mo, I didn't know it was you." Yi Mo knew he would know him, so he coldly said, "Help me buy a ticket to Beijing." He could only go to Beijing first before changing to Luotsang. Then Yi Mo took out his identity and some money. The gray shirt respectfully took the identity, but rejected Yi Mo's money. "I'll do it right away. I have a lot of money here. No need for yours, predecessor. I'm Lin Long, a subordinate of Western Sand, Master Jiao." Yi Mo nodded and casually said, "I know you're Jiao Biani's bodyguard, and you don't need to call me predecessor. I'll be waiting for you at that Western restaurant there. Make it quick." The gray shirt respectfully said, "Yes, Brother Mo, I'll be leaving first." Then Lin Long quickly took his men and left, and didn't even dare to capture that middle-aged woman. Not only was Lin Long's lackey shocked, but even the way in which people looked at Yi Mo also changed. They thought that someone who could make people from Western Sand so scared must be worse. Soon, no one dared to look at Yi Mo, and all left. That woman saw the hoodlums had left her and didn't dare to stay here. She didn't even dare to thank Yi Mo, and took the little girl and boy and ran. Yi Mo scanned the woman. He made Lin Long buy a ticket for him since he didn't have a passport to buy a plane ticket. But at the same time, he also had the intention of helping the woman. He didn't know who was right and wrong. He didn't want to know anything, but he thought what good thing could Western Sand do? Yi Mo walked into the Western restaurant and sat down at a place next to the window. He ordered something and ate. Yi Mo believed that it was all too easy for these people to buy a plane ticket in Hong Kong. They should be very quick. There wasn't much people at the restaurant now, but when he ordered, more and more people came. Soon this restaurant was filled. Yi Mo ate as he thought about how long Lin Long would take to get his thing done. Then he thought about that woman and the little girl. Yi Mo suddenly felt that little girl was familiar, and he seemed to have seen them somewhere before. But then he shook his head. He pretty much would never forget someone he saw. Friend, sorry. I've asked my girlfriend to eat here later. I want this position because it was the position I met her last time. Could you please make things convenient for me? Thank you very much. This is a check to express my gratitude. A temperamental youth walked in front of youth and spoke with a very polite tone. Yi Mo scanned the restaurant and frowned. This restaurant was full. If he gave this spot to this person, then he would have nowhere to sit. That wasn't the main thing. The main thing was he hasn't finished eating yet. Although this youth was polite, but Yi Mo didn't like it. Your girlfriend is important, but so is my food and waiting for ticket. Since you want to invite your girlfriend, then you should have ordered a seat earlier. Can't you see I'm eating here? Yi Mo unhappily said. This youth's tone grew more polite. Sorry, I didn't know I could invite her today. How about I'll give you some more? This meal is on me. It's no big deal giving it to you, but you need to wait after I finish. I should be done in about an hour. Yi Mo estimated that to be the time for Lin Long to buy him the ticket. Hearing Yi Mo's words, the youth's face grew bitter. Normally, most people would give over the seat after he said that. Some polite people would even wish him good luck, but the person in front of him was too obstinate. Seeing the youth's desperate face, Yi Mo sighed and prepared to stand up and give him the seat. He was almost done anyways. It didn't matter if he stood outside waiting for Lin Long. At this moment, the youth's phone rang. He quickly picked up and said, Quick, bring Ms. Bing here at that Poland Street's Western cuisine. Yes, yes. Yi Mo dazed. He finally remembered who that little girl was. He saw that girl in a picture at Yun Bing's house. Was she Yun Bing's child? But why was she at Hong Kong? He had never heard about Yun Bing talk about her past and never asked her about it. He didn't expect to see her daughter in Hong Kong. Now that he thought about it, she did seem quite similar to Yun Bing. Friend, move over please. My friend is almost here. How much money do you want? Name your price. This youth finally lost his patience. Yi Mo's thought was interrupted once again and was very annoyed. He was prepared to give the seat over, but he was interrupted twice, so he told the waiter, Give me another steak. You. The youth was finally triggered. He was being polite, but didn't expect Yi Mo to be so rude. I'll say it once again. It's not too late if you move aside now. I don't want to make things ugly. This youth no longer had that polite tone and threatened him. Yi Mo was scared of threats the least. The Song family threatened him, and he killed 3 of their direct lineage. Nanqing threatened him, and Qian Longzhou's body is now cold. Now he met another person who threatened him. Piss off. Yi Mo was finally angry. This guy meant that it would be wrong of him if he didn't give over the seat. You. Great, you have balls. I want to see how long that can last. The youth picked up the phone. It seemed he was going to call people over. Gui, where do I sit? Before Yi Mo spoke, a swan-like voice sounded. The girl who came was in her 20s, and her brows were lightly adorned. Her long lashes were like 2 small brushes, and her skin was very white. However, what caught Yi Mo's attention the most was her voice. It was a bit like Tan Fei's, crisp and very pleasant. Ms. Bing, you're here. We'll sit here. I'll make this person give over the seat for us. This is the place we met for the first time. The youth, who was just about to rage at Emo, immediately smiled. Seeing that the seat wasn't ready, Ms. Bing Girl casually said, "Then we'll find another seat. I still have things later." Hearing this, the youth was worried and walked in front of Emo and was about to warn him once again. He didn't want to show his ugly side in front of Ms. Bing. But before this youth spoke, a middle-aged man rushed in the door, followed by two people. The man rushed in front of Emo and quickly took out a plane ticket and said, "Predecessor Mo, I've brought the plane ticket here. Do you have any other requests?" But before this youth spoke, a middle-aged man rushed in the door, followed by two people. The man rushed in front of Emo and quickly took out a plane ticket and said, "Predecessor Mo, I've brought the plane ticket here. Do you have any other requests?" Emo raised his head. He didn't expect the person to be Jiao Biani. This Western Sand big boss came personally just to give him a plane ticket. Emo took the plane ticket and his document before saying, "Thank you, Mr. Jia. Just don't call me predecessor from now on." "Yes, brother Mo, of course." Jiao Biani knew how strong Emo was and didn't dare to say no. To him, it was a heavenly fortune to be able to help Emo. Gu already felt that Jiao Biani seemed like the big boss of Western Sand. Now that he heard Mr. Jiao and looked at the two people behind him, one of which was Lin Long, he immediately knew that the person who came was really the big boss of Western Sand, Jiao Biani. Gu Yi was immediately scared pale. Although he had some power, but it was nothing compared to Jiao Biani. He didn't think the big boss of Western Sand would be so respectful to Emo and call him brother. Who was this young man sitting here and eating? Thinking about how he was threatening him before, no wonder he told him to piss off. Gu Yi's back was already sweating. Gu Yi quickly bowed an apology and stepped back. Although Emo had detested Gu Yi a lot, he didn't want to be bothered with him. Although Jiao Biani noticed something, but since Emo didn't say anything, he couldn't really do much. "Sit, I have things to ask you," Emo said to Jiao Biani. "Yes, brother Mo." Jiao Biani was happy. It seemed Emo had some good impression of him. That girl didn't know who Jiao Biani was. She saw a middle-aged man call Emo brother and couldn't help to laugh. This scared Gu Yi that he immediately pulled her, trying to get her away. However, this girl suddenly yelled at Gu Yi, "Gu Yi, keep your hands off, don't pull me." Hearing the girl's reproach, he carefully looked at Emo and didn't even dare to breathe loud. Then he actually turned and ran away. No matter how dumb the girl was, she knew that Emo was no ordinary person. She saw that even a young master like Gu Yi was so scared of Emo. He was prepared to tell Emo to move before, but now he didn't even care about her and just left. If it wasn't for the power of Gu Yi's family and his decent character, the girl wouldn't come to the date. However, she didn't expect that the person who invited her would run away before they even ate. Funny how she was still thinking of an excuse to leave later. "HM, are you called Shering?" The girl didn't leave and studied Emo before asking in surprise. Jiao Biani cursed, hoping this garrulous girl would go away. He finally got close to Emo a little, and this retarded girl was talking nonsense. If it wasn't for Emo, he would have gotten people to throw her out. Emo looked at this girl in surprise. He thought that when he used the name Shering, he already used Qi to obfuscate the camera. How did this person know him? Only Yinbing knew. He was Shering. Was this girl really related to Yinbing? Seeing Emo was shocked, this girl just sat straight down. She knew she had guessed right and said in a satisfied manner, "Because I'm the person who admires Shering the most. I've watched his fighting recording countless times. Your body shape looks like him. This isn't the main thing. It's primarily because I'm really good at dealing with tapes. As long as I have an approximate face, I can refine it out. Although you have more defined features than the image I refined, but you still look quite similar." Emo helplessly said, "Yes, I am Shering. That isn't my real name. My real name is Emo." "Ah, it really is you. I'm so lucky. You don't know how many people in my school admires you. I didn't think I would meet you today. I'm Wu Bing, let's shake hands. Then, Wu Bing already extended her hand. She seemed to act as though she was close with him. Yi Mo could only shake hands with her. Jiao Bianyi almost looked at Wu Bing in jealousy. It was good being a girl, so easy to shake hands. He couldn't do the same as she did. Thinking about this, he felt depressed. He came specially just for Yi Mo, but was interrupted by this girl who still hasn't stopped. Wu Bing's hand felt boneless. Yi Mo thought of Luo Susu. When he hugged her before, he didn't notice it at the time due to the danger, but now he remembered that Luo Susu's waist also felt boneless and was very comfortable. Seeing that Yi Mo not letting her hands go, Wu Bing blushed and quickly pulled out her hands. Yi Mo also noticed his impoliteness and awkwardly smiled. However, Jiao Bianyi understood it as Yi Mo having a liking into younger girls. Since he now knew Yi Mo had this fetish, he would make sure Yi Mo was happy next time. Of course, Yi Mo didn't know what the two were thinking. His face recovered and turned to Wu Bing and said, Wu Bing, I have some things to discuss with Mr. Jiao. You may do as you wish. Seeing that Yi Mo implied she should leave, although she still wanted to talk with Yi Mo for a while. But she looked at Pan Yang and Lin Long behind her and seemed to realize she shouldn't stay here. She immediately stood up and said, Brother Yi, you are my idol. Can you leave me your number? After saying this, she saw Yi Mo didn't reply, so she awkwardly said, Brother, you don't worry, I won't call you on a whim. I just want to keep a number to fulfill my idle dream. Seeing Wu Bing act so awkward, Yi Mo thought that even if she called him, she wouldn't reach him. He kept his phone inside his ring, so Signal wouldn't even be able to travel inside. It didn't matter if she gave her his number. Yi Mo took out his phone and said, Tell me your number, I'll call you. However, he was surprised holding the phone. The phone Han Zaixin gave him was too good. It has been so many days, and there still was battery. Lovely. Wu Bing immediately told Yi Mo her number, and Yi Mo called. After Wu Bing was satisfied, Jiao Bianyi then carefully asked, Brother Mo, what orders do you have? As long as it's something I can do, I will try my best. Yi Mo nodded and said, Not long ago, I saw Lin Long chase after a woman and seemed to want to keep the girls. What's that about? Hearing Yi Mo's words, Jiao Bianyi's face immediately changed. He thought Yi Mo wanted to praise him, but didn't expect it to be this. If that woman and girl was related to Yi Mo, he would be dead. What's that about? Jiao Bianyi immediately looked at Lin Long seriously and asked. Seeing that Yi Mo still hadn't forgotten about this, Lin Long immediately started to sweat. He walked shakily in front and said, Master Jiao, brother, it's because old Song want him as his daughter, so... Be clear. Jiao Bianyi couldn't care about other things. It would be too late if Yi Mo asked. Yes, that girl was illegally brought to Hong Kong by an illegal immigrant. But because that person was out of money, he wanted to sell the girl. He met her people, but before the price was set, he accidentally let that girl run. That was originally the end to that, but because the girl looked adorable, so Lao Tsong wanted to take her in as a daughter. We didn't expect that girl to be taken away by a human trafficking woman. When we were chasing, we met brother. Lin Long didn't dare to hide and told the truth. Yi Mo was 90% sure that girl was the girl he saw on the photo on Yun Bing's wall. He immediately said, You guys go and bring the girl here immediately, I know her. Lin Long's heart sank, thinking it was over, but he nodded and turned to leave. Brother Mo, this thing is because my people are ignorant, we didn't know. Jiao Bianyi didn't think this sort of thing would happen. He also felt depressed. He finally had some connection to Yi Mo and didn't expect to anger him with another. Yi Mo, however, waved his hand and said, You are not to be blamed for this. Just bring the girl here. Seeing Jiao Bianyi's worry, Yi Mo asked, Do you have power in mainland? Jiao Bianyi quickly shook his head. No, power is mainly focused in the hands of Metal River and Nanqing on the mainland. Our western sand is mainly situated in Hong Kong, but I heard Nanqing has been having inner turmoil. Many Nanqing power at the borders are being corroded by other powers. Nanqing is still in inner turmoil. Yemo felt strange. After he killed Qianlong too, he just left. Lang Ji should have been able to control Nanqing. Otherwise, how could he send people to Beijing to discuss with the Yi family? Jiao Bini looked at Yemo's expression and knew Yemo didn't know about this, so he quickly said, after Qianlong too was dead, Lang Ji controlled Nanqing in a very short time, but this balance was broken in a week. It is said that many old members of Nanqing didn't follow Lang Ji and ganged up on him. In the battle, Lang Ji was said to be heavily injured, and now Nanqing is falling apart, but there is still no result. Yemo finally knew that these series of things happened in Nanqing. He couldn't help but to feel regretful. If Lang Ji controlled Nanqing, then perhaps he could use Nanqing to do things for him. But this Lang Ji was too useless and couldn't even do that. Chapter 175, Meeting Yunbing Again. Chapter 175, Meeting Yunbing Again. He must say that Lin Long did things fast and found that girl again in less than an hour. Yemo took a good look at the girl and was sure it was the girl he saw last time at Yunbing's house. She did look very cute. The girl seemed to know she was in a bad situation and was scared. She wouldn't talk no matter what. Yemo sighed. Such a smart girl. She actually knew she was at a disadvantage. "What's your name?" Yemo asked. The girl bit her lips and didn't talk. Yemo could only say, "I know your mom. Do you want me to take you to your mom?" "You're lying." This time, the girl's reply was quick and crisp. Yemo smiled and said, "I didn't lie to you. Your mother is called Yunbing. She saved me once and is my teacher. If you trust me, I can take you to your mother." "You really know my mother?" "I'm Tingting. If you can really take me to my mother, I will go with you." Obviously, the girl was believing what Yemo was saying. This also meant that she knew about her mom's situation. Before Yemo replied, the phone on the table suddenly rung. Ever since he got the phone from Han Zaixin, he had never picked up a call and always kept it in his storage ring. Even if someone called, it wouldn't reach. He didn't expect that as soon as he took it out, someone would call him. Yemo picked up the call, and soon there was a joyful voice. "Leader, I have reached him." Han Zaixin's voice immediately sounded. "Brother Yi, your phone is really hard to reach. Finally, I reached you today." Yemo frowned. He was scared of Han Zaixin looking for business with him, but now it came. "Sorry, Brother Yi, I really need your help this time. If you are free, come to Beijing. We'll talk in person." It's hard to explain on the phone. Although Han Zaixin said sorry, his tone didn't sound like he was sorry at all. Yemo helplessly hung up. He was going by Beijing anyways to see Yiling and Zifeng, so he might as well go and see Han Zaixin. Yemo stood up and said to Jiao Biani, "You found Tingting, I owe you one. I'm going to leave with Tingting now." Hearing Yemo's words, Jiao Biani's face erupted with joy. Although Yemo didn't leave any contact methods, but he promised he owed him one. This couldn't be bought with money. He knew how strong Yemo was, so how powerful was his promise? What couldn't he do? He didn't leave a contact method, meaning that if it wasn't something big, then don't bother him. If he really couldn't deal with the situation, then try and find him. Moreover, it could also mean that if it was mafia wars, then don't ask him for help. Regardless of what it meant, since Yemo said that it meant a lot to Jiao Biani, he didn't even need Yemo to do anything. As long as he put the word out, then his Western Sand status would rise straight up. Yemo came back to Beijing and called Yiling only to know that Yi Zifeng went to America with the investigation squad. Yiling also found an excuse to go, but she couldn't reach Yemo before she left. Although Yiling didn't say what sort of investigation squad it was, but Yemo knew something about it. It seemed that Yi Beirong wanted to cultivate Yi Zifeng heavily. This investigation squad must be related to government. Perhaps Once Yi Zifeng came back, he only needed to write an article and would soon receive a decent position. Yi Mo wouldn't mind about these things, but since Yi Zifeng liked it, he would let him be. Everyone had their own path. Brother Mo, my family before was living at Liang District. Coming to Beijing, Tingting was soon excited. After leaving the airport, she could point out to a lot of things. Do you want me to send you back? Hearing this, Yi Mo casually asked Tingting. Tingting raised her lips and said, I don't want to go back. They don't even let me go out to play. At most, I can go to kindergarten or go on the plane to America. They would never let me see my mom. I hate this place. The friends at kindergarten all have mothers, but I don't. And my stepmom isn't nice to me at all. Okay, in that case, I'll take you to your mom. Yi Mo laughed to himself. A little girl 6 years old really knew a lot. Brother Mo, this district is where I lived before. Tingting pointed to a luxurious mansion and said. The driver heard this was where Tingting used to live and immediately had a look of admiration and carefulness because he knew that those who lived here weren't simple. Normal people couldn't come in here at all. Yi Mo subconsciously scanned out his spirit sense inside. His spirit sense had reached 100 meters. Yi Mo's face immediately changed. He actually saw Yunbing. She was sitting in one of the mansions. Her face was pale and hair messy. She just kept shaking her head while saying something. Her eyes were red. Driver, stop the car. Yi Mo immediately felt something happen to Yunbing. Brother Mo, are you going to take me to where I lived before? Tingting saw that Yi Mo took her and flipped over the wall to get in. She felt this was fun, but still asked worriedly, I'll take you to see your mother. Yi Mo walked faster and quickly entered this mansion. Yunbing's voice also sounded. I didn't take Tingting away. Give me back Tingting. Give her back to me. Her tone was screeching. Give her to you. Who knows where you got Tingting to? A young woman came up to Yunbing and slapped her in the face. Yunbing seemed to be dumbed. Seeing this palm come, she didn't even react. Yi Mo suddenly appeared before Yunbing and grabbed this hand. He twisted the hand, and this woman was flung out away onto a distant corner. Yi Mo didn't use much force and just threw the woman away. Yi Mo, is that you? Yunbing hadn't seen Tingting, who was let go by Yi Mo. She just saw Yi Mo and couldn't control her emotions. She fell into Yi Mo's arms and started crying. Yi Mo looked awkwardly at Yunbing in his arms. Yi Mo sneered. Yi Mo can go wherever I want. There's no one who can stop me. Even if your O family is one of the 5 big families, Yi Mo can come and go as I please, much less when you're not. What can you do? Chapter 176. The Nightmare in Yunbing's Eyes. Chapter 176. The Nightmare in Yunbing's Eyes. You're saying you are Yi Mo? The Yi Mo of Beijing Yi family? That Yi Mo who made Yi Beirong send away his 2 sons? The old man didn't continue, but he was already sure that this Yi Mo was indeed the Yi Mo. If he really was that abandoned son of the Yi family, then that meant he was the person even the Song family didn't dare to mess with him, much less his O family that was lesser than the Song family. This Yi Mo had killed more than a few of the Song family's people. Last week, the moment before Song Xiaochen died, he said he understood. No one knew what he understood, but everyone speculated that it should be related to Yi Mo. Even though everyone in the Song family knew that Song Xiaochen was killed by Yi Mo, still no one dared to find Yi Mo. The Song family didn't even dare to touch Yi Mo, so Yi Mo wasn't bluffing at all when he said he wasn't afraid of the O family. Although this old man didn't know why the Song family was so scared of Yi Mo, but he knew that although the leader of the Song family, Song Qiming, was careful, there was no way that he would give up revenge on the person who killed his son. So there must be scarier things about Yi Mo that O Jinlong didn't know. O Jinlong's face looked bad. It wasn't that he didn't want Yi Mo to leave, but that he regretted what he said just then. Why didn't he investigate Emo and at least know what he looked like? Although he was sure that the O family wouldn't be afraid of Emo, he didn't want to have to fight Emo first and let other people get the advantage. If O Jinling could realize this problem, so could that middle-aged man. A slightly famous family in Beijing would have heard of Emo's name. Before Emo appeared in Beijing, there were the 6 most cocky young masters. They were very cocky, but since Emo appeared in Beijing, one of them has been sent away and one was killed. The remaining 4 were all sent away by their family for fear of meeting Emo. But now, the O family sent their young master to America, but Emo found them. Very cocky are you, I'll kick you to death. That bulging-eyed youth saw Yunbing hide fearfully behind Emo and was very angry. Why didn't she hide behind him? He finally couldn't resist it after hearing Emo's words and kicked to Emo. It was too late now for O Jinlong to stop Emo. Emo looked at this youth coldly and also kicked back. Emo's leg landed on the youth's knee. There was a teeth-rubbing sound, and Emo's feet continued as it landed on the youth's chest. The youth was kicked out many meters away until he crashed on the wall and fell down. Blood spewed out of his mouth, and one leg was obviously broken by Emo. Oh, Jinling had an anticipation of Emo's cockiness, but didn't expect it to be of this degree. Kicking his grandson like that in front of him. If Emo used a little more force, someone would have died. Yunbing was scared witless. Emo actually kicked the direct grandson of O Jinling half dead and even broke his kneecaps. How could she not be scared? She just thought about what should we do now. Emo got into a feud with the O family because of her. She could only try to think of ways for Emo to get away as far as possible. However, what made Yunbing more confused was that O Jinlong actually didn't go on a tantrum. He just said "you" in extreme fury and stopped. Emo sneered. What about me? Very cocky? You're right, I'm cocky to you. I'm going now. Is there someone going to stop me? O Jinlong's face was green with anger. Although his O family wasn't one of the 5 big families of Beijing, but their power was no less than that of the 5 great families. Normally, even the 5 great families tried to avoid conflict with the O family. Thus, there were 6 young masters of Beijing, not 5. How could O Jinling do nothing when a young man smashed into his door and acted so cocky in front of him? Even when he's retired, he still couldn't let it go. Okay. Oh, Jinlong was so angry he was stuttering. He couldn't understand why the Song family people could endure after Emo killed their people. Emo didn't kill his people, but he could no longer endure it. If the Song family could even endure that, it seemed that they were really on the downfall. Emo sneered and looked at O Jinlong. You're welcome to find your revenge, but don't blame me if you don't return. I hate people who threaten me. I'll give you a chance to exact revenge now. And, old thing, I'm warning you. If you dare to touch one of Yunbing's hair next time, I will annihilate the O family. I'm going. I'll be waiting for you to come for me. Then Emo took Yunbing and Tingting and just left. He couldn't even be bothered to look at O Jinlong, who was shaking with fury. O Jinling breathed heavily and almost fainted. After a while, he finally recovered with people patting his back. The first thing he said when he woke up was, "No matter the cost, we will send this punk to hell. If he thinks we're like the 5 great families, then he's blind." After the 3 had left that little district very far, Yunbing finally woke up to reality and said, "Emo, hurry up and run as far as possible. Quick, when the O family is ready, you won't be able to leave." Emo smiled faintly. "Don't worry, Mrs. Yin, I'm fine. I have feud with even the Song family, but I'm still walking fine on the streets, much less the O family." At this moment, Emo had greater realization of the importance of strength. If he hadn't reached stage 3 Qi gathering, then perhaps his bones would have been chewed away by the Song family. Even if the Song family didn't, Nanqing would have devoured him. "You don't know how fierce the O family is. I beg you, please go." Yunbing saw Emo was untouched and immediately began to worry. Mummy, why do you want Big Brother Mo to leave? Isn't it good for him to stay with us? Ting Ting saw that her mum wanted Mo to leave and couldn't help but to ask. Yun Bing carried up Ting Ting and said, Ting Ting, why are you calling him Big Brother? You need to call him Uncle, okay? Ting Ting raised her lips and said, At Hong Kong I saw many older people call him Brother Mo, so of course I will call him Mo, Big Brother. What? Ting Ting, you went to Hong Kong? How did you go there? Yun Bing finally thought of asking how Ting Ting went to Hong Kong and forgot about Yi Mo's situation. Yi Mo recounted what happened in Hong Kong. You know Ting Ting? Yun Bing asked Yi Mo with curiosity. Yi Mo said, I saw her that day in your room. Yun Bing immediately remembered that Yi Mo stayed in her house for a few days. She seemed to have thought of something and blushed. Yun Bing's face was pale due to what happened before, and now it was very obvious when it suddenly changed red. Mom, why is your face red? Ting Ting immediately noticed and asked. Yun Bing awkwardly said, Ting Ting, let's go. Mummy will buy you some snacks. Yun Bing moved Ting Ting's attention to snacks in one sentence, and she unexpectedly didn't request Mo to leave. Ting Ting wanted to go eat KFC, so the three could only go eat some junk food. But Ting Ting was very happy. Are you going back to Ninghai today? Yun Bing suddenly asked Mo. Although she wanted to be with Mo, she didn't have any reason. Now that Ting Ting was by her side, she felt very happy. Even if she was killed due to the O family's revenge, she didn't feel it was that bad. Of course, Mo didn't know what Yun Bing was thinking, but it was nighttime, and he didn't know how long it would take to get back to Ninghai, so he said, Not going back. Then we'll go live at a hotel. Yun Bing immediately asked and felt anticipation. Mo shook his head. I have a place to live in Beijing. It's where my sister Yi Ling and brother Yi Zifeng live at. But they never go there, so we'll go there today. What do you think, Mrs. Yin? Hearing Mo's words, Yun Bing actually felt better and immediately said, Okay, it would be best not going to hotel. I didn't expect you to have somewhere to live in Beijing. But can you stop calling me Mrs. Yun from now on? Just call me Yun Bing or Sister Bing. No problem, Sister Bing. Mo was very grateful to Yun Bing risking her life to save him, and he never had the chance to repay her. Now that he could help her, he was very happy. Suddenly, Yun Bing seemed to have thought of something and looked at Mo and said, Your sister and brother? Are you the Yi families? Oh, sorry. I only heard about this from other people. Mo smiled and said, Don't worry, it's the truth, but my sister Yi Ling is very nice to me. So although I'm not of the Yi family in Beijing, Yi Ling is still my sister, and Yi Zifeng is still my brother. Chapter 177. Is there going to be a spark? Chapter 177. Is there going to be a spark? Mo arranged Yun Bing and Ting Ting into Yi Ling's room while he slept in Yi Zifeng's room. Ting Ting had been very tired going from Hong Kong to Beijing. She went to bed early after having a shower. However, Yun Bing stayed on the bed, unable to sleep. She was thinking about what Mo was doing and how he knew that she was forcefully sent to the O family. Mo, however, was looking through those materials in the room. He was still missing a few materials to make the flying sword, so he packed them away and took out the map Mo Kong drew him. If what Mo Kong said was true, then he must go to that place. Even if there wasn't space abyssal rock, those precious herbs would be very important to him. After cultivating for 2 hours, Mo was prepared to sleep when his door was knocked. Mo subconsciously scanned out with a spirit sense and saw Yun Bing wearing her pajamas, standing at the door. Her face was still a bit red. Sick? Didn't really look like it. Mo opened the door and was just about to talk when Yun Bing rushed into his arms. He felt a soft, pleasant, scented body as his head buzzed. He just cultivated and his blood was gushing. At this time, Yun Bing rushed into his arms, and so he was astonished. Yun Bing didn't think much. She was just really grateful to Yi Mo from the depth of her heart. If it wasn't for Yi Mo, she wouldn't even be able to see Ting Ting and would have probably died a few months ago. Yi Mo gave her a sense of security. She really liked that feeling. It made her peaceful, and she really enjoyed it. When Yi Mo left, she always longed for that feeling. Sometimes she thought she shouldn't. She was a few years older than Yi Mo, and Yi Mo was her student. How could she think like that? But today on the bed, she kept thinking about Yi Mo. She really couldn't fall asleep. She pumped courage for herself for a long time before finally having the guts to knock on Yi Mo's door. She really liked sleeping beside Yi Mo, that sense of comfort and serenity. She really liked it. Furthermore, in her heart, Yi Mo was impotent, so he couldn't do anything. Even if she slept by Yi Mo wouldn't do anything to her. When Yi Mo treated Ning Qingshuet and saw her bust a white chest, he was also a bit itchy at heart. He hugged Luo Susu, and Lu Susu even kissed him when he was unconscious. Although it wasn't intentional, his heart still rippled after thinking about it. But no matter what, he had never felt such a hot sensation like now. Yun Bing was like a ball of fire, a soft ball that gradually surrounded him. He just finished cultivation, and this soft heat latched onto him, making him unable to hold on. He never had sex, but it didn't mean he didn't know about it. His body immediately started to react. The moment Yun Bing hugged Yi Mo closely, she was so comfortable she almost moaned. After a long time, she could finally fall asleep in Yi Mo's arms. Even if the O family took revenge on them tomorrow, at least she had a great night. But Yun Bing immediately felt something was wrong. She felt a hot, sturdy rod against her stomach. What was it? She subconsciously grabbed it. Ah! She immediately reacted. Before she was fully aware of what happened, she was so scared she ran out of the room and went into her own. She closed the door and breathed heavily. Yi Mo's body wasn't what she thought it was. He was very normal. After a long time, Yun Bing asked herself, why did she run? She went over there, meaning that she wouldn't mind it. Yun Bing understood that the reason she had the guts to knock on Yi Mo's door was because she knew Yi Mo couldn't do that. But the reality was the opposite. Not only could Yi Mo do that, he was also very sturdy and healthy. At least she grabbed it with her own hands, and it was really... Yun Bing felt her face was hot and started to regret. She should have stayed. She suddenly really wanted it. But she had the courage to go to Yi Mo's room because she didn't think about it. Now that she thought about it and knew that Yi Mo could do it, she no longer had the courage to go over. She suddenly really hoped Yi Mo would come and call her over, and she would immediately go. She felt her face was burning and heart pumping fast. For 28 years, she never had such thoughts and strong desires. After a long time, Yi Mo didn't call her and her heart gradually cooled. She suddenly felt ashamed for having such thought. She felt she was trying to entice Yi Mo. Yi Mo didn't expect Yun Bing to scream and run after finding out that he was normal and felt a little awkward. He understood why Yun Bing came. Although Yi Mo was aroused by Yun Bing just then, he was a cultivator. After a few spirit cleansing chants, he suppressed his fire. Yi Mo laid on the bed, reminiscing Yun Bing. Her body was very soft and bouncy. He had seen her nude before, but never like today, with fire and desperation. He remembered that Tian-He. She was also wearing pajamas and hugged him. He remembered he also reacted that day. Was it related to what he was cultivating? How could he not deal with this little enticement? Although Yi Mo didn't know why Yun Bing came to find him at night, he knew that since she came, she wouldn't reject him too much. If he went now and shamelessly pursued her, perhaps she would agree. Yi Mo shook his head. He felt that if something happened between him and Yun Bing now, it would be complete lust. Although he felt Yun Bing was a good person, he wasn't at the degree of falling in love with her. Love? Yi Mo suddenly thought of Luo Ying and Lu Susu. The two seemed to move about in front of his eyes, and they overlapped each other. This feeling was very strange. He even wanted to grab Luo Susu's hand and ask if she was Luoing, but Luo Susu was in her 20s, and she didn't seem to be in the same situation as him. How could she be Luoing? In the morning, Yi Mo found that Yun Bing had already made breakfast. Yun Bing was still a bit embarrassed to look at Yi Mo. She didn't even dare to meet eyes with Yi Mo. However, Yi Mo didn't care. He ate breakfast and played with Ting Ting for a while before saying, "Sister Bing, I'm going out to do something and going back to Luo Tsang in the afternoon. Are you still going back to Ninghai? You live at Luo Tsang now." Yun Bing suddenly remembered she hadn't asked where Yi Mo lived at now. Although she knew that the O family probably feared Yi Mo a little, but Yi Mo lived at Luo Tsang and she lived at Ninghai. The O family couldn't deal with Yi Mo, but they could do something to her and Ting Ting. "I'm living at Luo Tsang now, but..." Yi Mo saw the worry in Yun Bing's eyes and thought for a while before saying, "Don't worry about the O family. I will remove this threat for you." Yi Mo's phone couldn't be reached again. Just when Han Zaixin was worried, he received news that Yi Mo came to Beijing and caused some trouble at the O family. Han Zaixin's eyes brightened up. He was just thinking about how to make Yi Mo submit himself. But now Yi Mo went to start trouble with the O family. This Yi Mo was a restless one. "Brother Han, are you thinking of some nasty idea again, making me do free labor?" Just when Han Zaixin was thinking about how to make Yi Mo do things for him willingly, Yi Mo's voice suddenly appeared by his ear, scaring Han Zaixin that he almost jumped. His place was heavily guarded. How did the guards not notice him when Yi Mo came? "How did you come in?" Han Zaixin looked at Yi Mo in surprise and asked. Yi Mo smiled and said, "It's not important how I came in. What's important is what you want with me. Otherwise, I'm going back. I'm really busy lately. I don't have time to chat with you." Han Zaixin laughed and put aside how Yi Mo came in. He thought if Yi Mo didn't have some power, he wouldn't need him in the first place. "Of course I need your help. You must not decline. It said very clearly on our agreement last time." Han Zaixin quickly said. He was afraid Yi Mo would say he had no time. Yi Mo smiled and said, "Indeed, I especially took out the agreement and looked. It said very clearly, I will do something for flying snow once every 2 years. And this first time was after I chose real materials. Now, I haven't chosen anything yet. How can you make me help you? This is said clearly on the paper. Do you want me to show you?" Hearing Yi Mo's words, Han Zaixin rubbed his head helplessly. He thought that he didn't need Yi Mo for normal things, and flying snow could deal with the problems 99% of the times, so he asked for Yi Mo to help once in 2 years. He didn't expect the trouble to come quick, so he had to beg Yi Mo to help. That's correct, but I really need your help this time. Although Zhang Ju is not bad, he is still missing something. Han Zaixin knew he had no right to ask for Yi Mo to help this time, but he really couldn't find anyone better than Yi Mo. Femo sneered but didn't talk. Although his cultivation was progressing slow now, but he didn't want to waste time on this. He would do as he said, and it wasn't yet time to fulfill his promise yet. "I can help you deal with the O family, and the O family is prepared to make a move on you." Han Zaixin suddenly said. Yi Mo said plainly, "They're not a threat. The reason I didn't do anything yesterday was because Ting Ting was there. So I don't need you to mind this thing. Don't do something rash." Han Zaixin quickly said. Chapter 178. Oh, Family's Dependence. Chapter 178. Oh, Family's Dependence. Yi Mo knocked the table before slowly saying, "Perhaps I won't just be doing that." Then he stood up. He was now stage 3 Qi gathering. If the O family dared to make a move, then he was prepared to exterminate them and then go exterminate the Song family before finding the hidden sections. Although he knew he probably won't get far with his current power in the hidden sects, he believed he could at least stay alive. "Wait, what's your condition? I'll see if I can do it." Seeing that Yi Mo was going to leave, Han Zixin finally couldn't sit down anymore. He believed that if Yi Mo were to go, it would be much harder to find him again. Yi Mo smiled, thinking he fell for it. He turned around and looked at Han Zixin. The girl behind you last time was your granddaughter? Han Zixin thought. Does he have an interest in her? He felt joyful but pretended to be angry and said, Don't think about my granddaughter. She's not ordinary. Normal people can't even begin to think about her. Although you are not bad, but I think, it's still a bit hard. Han Zixin knew that it was hard to find a person in the mortal world to marry her, but he really admired Yi Mo's abilities. If he really did like his granddaughter, then he wouldn't mind helping him. Yi Mo said once again, Elder Han, you're thinking too much. Your granddaughter is so excellent. How do I dare to think about her? Plus, I already have someone I like. Don't worry about it, Elder Han. Then what do you mean? Han Zixin asked annoyedly. Yi Mo said, If I guessed right, your daughter is from the hidden sects, right? My first condition is simple. That is, after I've done what you want, your granddaughter will lead me into the hidden sections. As long as I go in, she doesn't need to do anything else. Keep dreaming. Han Yan, with an ice-cold face, walked in. She was hiding behind the door while listening to Yi Mo's request. She quickly stepped out, fearing that her grandpa would agree. Yi Mo smiled and didn't say anything. He knew where Han Yan was hiding. If he could enter the hidden sects with Han Yan's help, it would save him a lot of time. Even someone as rich as Mo Kong spent 16 years knowing the way and how to get Indiana. As such, this made Yi Mo worry about getting in the hidden sections. Han Zixin waved his head. Don't mention this. This isn't something that only Yan Air could decide. If she brought you in, she wouldn't be able to get away with it herself. What's your second condition? Yi Mo shook his head and said, Since we can't even agree on the first, there's no use talking about the second. Han Zixin's mouth spasmed, thinking that this guy really stood firm. He turned and said to Han Yan, Bring that ore and show him. Hearing about ore, Yi Mo's ear moved and immediately focused his attention. Han Yan walked over helplessly and took out a wooden box. She opened it and there was a pale green organ. It seemed like jade, but Yi Mo could tell it wasn't jade. Yi Mo took the stone and scanned it with his spirit sense. Green silver sand. You know this stone? This is a stone. Why do you call it sand? Han Yan subconsciously asked. Yi Mo put down the stone and said, This stone is useless for you. You can give it to me and count it as my first condition. If Yi Mo had this, then he would only be missing 2 materials to make his flying sword. Han Yan sneered. Good things are useless to me. You really overestimate yourself. Tell me, why is this big rock called sand? Yi Mo explained, Of course it's called sand. Did you think sand had to be very small? I've seen green silver sand much bigger than this, at least 10 times bigger. Han Yan had a look of disbelief. This guy really knew how to bluff. If Grandpa didn't value him so much, she would teach him a lesson. Although he was not bad, but he should probably be a far cry from her. But Grandpa had to say she couldn't do this alone and needed Yi Mo's help. Han Zixin laughed and said, Okay, this is yours. Let's hear your second condition. Yi Mo spoke. The second condition is, of course, to kick the O family out of the Beijing upper class. If you can't even do this, then I'd rather not have your green silver sand. It was impossible not to take the green silver sand. Yi Mo wanted to see how powerful Han Zixin was. If it wasn't enough, then he would do it himself. The O family was scarier than the Song family. Yi Mo could tell from O Jinlong's arrogant expression. The Song family didn't dare to touch his family before something happened to him, but the O family dared to do so. Yi Ling and Yi Zifeng were still at Beijing. Han Zixin thought for a while before saying, O family is nothing to worry about. However, they have one in the politics and one in martial arts. O Tanya, don't worry about him. Although he has a pretty high position, but he has done too much illegal things. The reason we haven't brought him down is because of the other person in the O family. He's called O Tanhu. He is a madman. He came from the hidden sects, and isn't the least bit reasonable. Even we can't do anything about him. After he murders, he will escape to the hidden sects and come back after a while. We don't know why he can come and go out of the hidden sections. That time in Beijing, never mind, let's not talk about this. I presume he might even be stronger than you. Not even Yen Er is a match for him. So before something happens to O Tanhu, I wouldn't touch the O family, but I can help you resolve the issue. Yi Mo sneered and said, No need, I'll deal with it myself. I'm genuinely trying to warn you, although you're not bad, but I feel you're not as strong as O Tanhu. Once you completely piss them off and O Tanhu is involved, then that would be a certain death situation, Han Zaixin worriedly said. Yi Mo didn't reply Han Zaixin and said to himself, I need to go back to Luo Tsang once. Didn't you say you agreed to help me once? Why are you going back to Luo Tsang now? I haven't told you what I need help with, Han Zaixin quickly said. Yi Mo thought that if he went back to Luo Tsang and this O Tanhu did things without thinking consequences, then it would be really bad. Although he was like that too sometimes, he still had his sense. He did everything with a purpose. However, he heard this O Tanhu was a madman. After he did those crazy things, there would be no use even if he killed him. Thinking about this, Yi Mo said, You should know where I used to live in Ninghai, right? This I know. Han Zaixin's old face blushed. He had done his research on Yi Mo. He even knew that Yi Mo was the masqueraded Shiring at Ninghai. Yi Mo also knew that Han Zaixin would definitely investigate him, but he didn't mind it. He said, Send someone to come get some grass with me and help me plant it in my flower pot at where I live in Ninghai. Oh, and tell Su Wei that I planted it and ask her to help me look after it for a few days. Of course, Han Zaixin agreed without hesitation. Okay, I'll be going first. Prepare to deal with the O family. Don't make me do it. If I do it, it won't be in the way you want. I will deal with O Tanhu. After I'm done with the O family, then you tell me what I need to do. Yi Mo turned and left, of course, not forgetting about the green silver sand. Seeing Yi Mo was still adamant on taking on the O family, and even O Tanhu after his persuasion, Han Zaixin wanted to say something, but eventually didn't. Grandpa, do you want me to help him? Han Yen knew O Tanhu wasn't someone easy to deal with. Han Zaixin shook his head and said, If he really could finish O Tanhu, then I'll take this opportunity to remove the O family. But if he isn't a match for O Tanhu and still goes to fight him ignoring my persuasion, then there's no benefit in him participating in this. It could only mean that I picked the wrong person. A person so impulsive cannot take this mission of mine. But Grandpa, I feel that Yi Mo is a very impulsive person, Han Yen said. Han Zaixin shook his head. Not necessarily, although Yi Mo is impulsive, he doesn't seem to be that impulsive. Plus, this time, the O family has decided to make a move on Yi Mo, but I just haven't told him yet. I wanted to use this mission to draw him away from Beijing to escape O Tanhu, but he insists on fighting, so we'll see how strong he really is. Grandpa, what if he really could kill O Tanhu? Han Yen suddenly felt that Yi Mo wasn't that simple. From how she didn't realize he got in the door today, she realized that she couldn't completely read him. If O Tanhu really is no match for Yi Mo, then things would be good. Some things really need to be managed. Hidden sects, they are a hidden calamity. Although they don't come out to fight for power, but the occasional one or two who comes out can immediately upset the balance. Han Zaixin sighed. After a long while, Han Zaixin stood up again and said, No matter if Yi Mo can succeed, we must prepare. Yen Er, I'm going out. Once Yi Mo comes back again, it would mean that he has finished O Tanhu. Then you can tell him the thing. If he didn't, then never mind. Chapter 179. The Killing Blow That Was Not Used. Chapter 179. The killing blow that was not used. Guillemot returned home, but Yun Bing wasn't there. After he gave the grass to the person Han Zixin sent, he was prepared to call Yun Bing when the door opened by itself. At the door stood a sturdy man in his 30s. His hair was long and his forehead was broad. If it wasn't for that triangular-shaped eyes, he would look quite majestic. But that triangular eyes ruined the overall image and made him seem violent. "You got balls. How dare you go on a rampage at my family?" Although the man's voice was low, it had this sharpness in its tone that made people feel uncomfortable. Guillemot stopped what he was doing and looked at the man before calmly saying, "You are Tanhu?" "Not bad. The family acted quite fast." "Indeed, I'm Tanhu." "Young man, you have balls, but if you think the family is a sissy like the Song family, then you just wait and die. 21 years ago, there was a big family that was no lesser than the current 5 big families. Do you know how they disappeared? Indeed, you got it. My Xiong one and I killed them in one night, regardless of old and young. It seems it's your Yi family this time. Don't worry, I will make it clean. At most, I'll just hide for another few years." Tanhu seemed to be smiling, but his cold tone didn't have the slightest feeling of a smile. Guillemot's eyes frowned, thinking this person was so sinister. Even he didn't plan on killing the entire Song family. At most, he would the main members and kick them out of Beijing. No matter what, Guillemot was not planning to let this man go. He was too cruel, and that Xiong he mentioned was also very evil. Once in conflict with these type of people, one must kill them immediately or there would be unfathomable consequences. "You just got here?" Guillemot suddenly thought of Yun Bing. She wasn't here. Could she be taken away by the family? Tanhu sneered. "You don't have much of a future. We martial artists can have women any time and place we want, but you're still thinking about her even now." Guillemot didn't expect Tanhu to know what he was thinking with just one sentence. This guy was no impulsive man like Han Zixin described. He was obviously a cunning person. Guillemot sighed. If Tanhu was really impulsive, he would have been long dead. It seemed that Han Zixin was also tricked by Tanhu's facade. "Where do you want to fight? Lead the way." Whether or not Yun Bing was taken away by the family people, he needed to finish Tanhu now. "You're bold." Then Tanhu didn't even look at Guillemot and went downstairs. Guillemot closed the door and followed Tanhu onto his car without asking a question. He could tell that Tanhu was strong, but he was still a little weaker than Daoxian. He could kill Daoxian, so why would he worry about an Tanhu? But this man was at most in his teens 21 years ago, and he could still kill old and young. It could be seen how cruel he was. It was such a waste that he didn't live in the cultivation realm. Tanhu seemed to know that Guillemot would follow him. He got in a Range Rover and drove to the rural areas. He knew that Guillemot must be decent, but it would cause too much attention in the city. That wouldn't benefit him killing the Yi family later. Guillemot scanned Tanhu with his spirit sense. It appears that he came barehanded, but his real weapon was a short sword that was packed at his chest. Plus, Tanhu was tall and big. Thus that small sword was covered by his clothes. Tanhu didn't drive very far as soon as they left the city. He stopped by an abandoned sewer station. Perhaps to him, it would only be a few minutes before he killed Guillemot. Tanhu got off the car and looked at Guillemot with a sneer. "No need to say any last words. Your Yi family will end today. But don't worry about Yun Bing, although I haven't taken her away. But I really want to know what a woman who you can't forget tastes like." Guillemot suddenly closed his eyes as though Tanhu was just air. F***CK, you want to die. Tanhu was very angry and suddenly punched towards Guillemot's chest. Before his fist arrived, the wind arrived. Guillemot saw Tanhu's anger but shook his head. He didn't think Tanhu would be angered so easily. No matter what Tanhu was like, he underestimated Guillemot. He thought he could easily take out Guillemot and didn't need waste time talking to him. But he was also someone who could be easily taken out in Guillemot's eyes. Yi-Mo struck out his fist without hesitation, and it collided with O-Tanhu's fist. O-Tanhu sneered. This punk dared to clash fists with him. His fist was originally going to be a hollow attack, and he was going to cut Yi-Mo in half when he dodged. He didn't like to waste time. Although he could still kill Yi-Mo without using the sword, he would never go for a harder way if there was an easier way. Now that Yi-Mo dared to clash fists with him, he turned his hollow attack into a real attack and smashed with full force towards Yi-Mo's chest. He was confident he would shatter Yi-Mo's arms and crush Yi-Mo's chest. The instant their fists clashed, O-Tanhu knew it wasn't good. The inner chi Yi-Mo had on his fists were much purer than the inner chi he had. Yi-Mo was an inner chi master. The moment O-Tanhu realized this, his back immediately sweated. He underestimated Yi-Mo too much. He shouldn't have used all his power in that fist and should have left some power. If he saved some power, he could still change his attack or even take out his sword and kill Yi-Mo. But now that was impossible. Their fists have clashed. O-Tanhu just felt as though his fists hit steel, but this was not over. After the steel shattered his bones, it reached out and grabbed his fist. O-Tanhu was regretting it so much. If he didn't change his movem, kept his punch a hollow attack, and then sneak attacked Yi-Mo with his sword, he was 90% sure it would hit Yi-Mo. Even if he didn't sneak attack, as long as he didn't underestimate Yi-Mo, he still felt that Yi-Mo was no match for him. But there was only one chance, and he wasted it, even destroying his left hand in the process. He didn't expect Yi-Mo's inner chi to be so pure. Was this even still inner chi? He had never heard of someone who was able to cultivate their inner chi to be so pure and thick. Perhaps this was an inner chi, but his thought stopped there. Before he had the time to retreat, he heard another crack, like a branch that had been snapped. There was massive pain, and O-Tanhu's heart sank. He knew his hand was snapped. But this wasn't what made him terrified the most. The most terrifying thing was that he couldn't even see his left hand. Yi-Mo just pulled off his hand. One missed move, and this was the result. O-Tanhu looked at his blood, dripping wrist as the veins on his head bulged. There was madness and ferocity in his eyes as he smashed his right fist towards Yi-Mo without thinking of the consequences. Yi-Mo sneered. This guy still wanted to use the move he wasn't able to use before. Did he not know there was a sword hidden on his chest? Yi-Mo was sure O-Tanhu had a way to pull out the sword instantly and stab it to him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have so much faith in it. Yi-Mo still didn't dodge and struck his fist out. O-Tanhu cruelly smiled. Yi-Mo broke his wrist, so he wanted to slice Yi-Mo into a million pieces. But soon he felt something was wrong as a frosty wind swept towards his right fist. What was this? O-Tanhu's eyes were good, but he just felt a frosty wind and didn't see any projectiles. Was his sensors wrong? O-Tanhu's eyes narrowed. Even if it was a projectile, he would still attack and kill Yi-Mo with the sword. But the next moment, O-Tanhu's heart was scared **less. He found that his wrist hand fell to the ground for no reason, still in a fist shape. Projectile? Was that frosty wind really a projectile and such a powerful one? O-Tanhu screamed inside. He didn't think he would lose so completely and simply. Before he could ask who the hell Yi-Mo was, he was kicked in the chest. Spew! O-Tanhu spat out mouthfuls of blood and laid paralyzed on the ground, and his organs were completely shattered with this kick. He only had one thought. Such thick inner chi. How did he cultivate this? I'm not reconciled to this. O-Tanhu spat out more blood and yelled hysterically. Yi-Mo walked forward, pulled out a sword from O-Tanhu's clothes and sneered. You're not reconciled to this. Is it because you didn't get to use your sword? O-Tanhu completely froze. How did Yi-Mo know the sword was his killing blow? 1 TL note. Shi Xiong/D. Elder/younger disciple under the same master, referring to male Shirjia/May. Elder/younger disciple under the same master, referring to female. Not necessarily always under the same master, can be used just as a way to refer to people. My Sir Xiong will exact revenge for me. These were O Tanhu's last words. My Sir Xiong will exact revenge for me. These were O Tanhu's last words. O Tanhu was very decisive, and Yemo wasn't able to ask anything useful from him. He was not only cruel to others, but cruel to himself as well. However, Yemo found 2 words, broken fists, from the hilt of that sword. The work was not bad, same quality as that whip Yemo got. When Yemo went back home, Yun Bing and Ting Ting had come back. After asking, he knew that Yun Bing went out to help Ting Ting buy clothes. Now that he had pulled out the tooth of the O family, Yemo estimated that there was not much danger for Yun Bing, so he went for Han Zaixin. He would leave the remaining things for Han Zaixin to deal with. If he couldn't even do such a simple thing, it would mean that he was not genuine. For someone who wasn't genuine, Yemo would rather not have the green silver sand than cooperating with them. Yemo wouldn't be like O Tanhu and go out killing everyone. But if Han Zaixin didn't make an attack, then he would kill at least all the heads of the family. Why did you come back so fast? Weren't you going to look for O Tanhu? Han Zaixin wasn't at home, but Han Yen was. She seemed to be immune to Yemo popping in and out of nowhere. Yemo dropped the sword and sighed. There's no longer such a person. What? You killed O Tanhu this quick? Han Yen picked up that sword in disbelief and checked it carefully before saying, Indeed, this is his sword. It has the mark of the Broken Fist Hall. Broken Fist Hall? Yemo repeated. He still remembered that O Tanhu said his Sir Xiong would avenge him, so he need to be wary. Since his Sir Xiong could kill an entire big family with him, it meant that this Sir Xiong was also a cruel character. Han Yen seemed to realize she said something she shouldn't have and quickly said again, Wait, I'll call my grandpa. Miyang Lake was the most beautiful lake in Beijing. Not only was it beautiful, but it also crossed a sixth of Beijing, so it was also called a sixth lake. Miyang Lake not only had an army stationed there from the Beijing military district, but all the upper class and leaders of Beijing were living around here. Thus, Miyang Lake was also called the Wealthy Lake by normal citizens. At this moment, in the most heavily guarded building, sat 6 old men. Even the youngest among them was older than 50. Zaixin, you're saying that Yemo really has enough capability to finish O Tanhu? This isn't a joke. If that ferocious tiger is pissed off, the Yi family would also be in danger. The person speaking was in his 60s, middle build, and seemed slightly slim, but his spirit was high. Han Zaixin said, Director, don't worry. If Yemo really is no match for O Tanhu, I have made preparations. I won't let what happened 20 years ago happen again. Yes, we'll get rid of that tiger, even if it costs something. Even without Yemo, we would still do this. This O Tanhu is getting more and more out of control. The old man nodded and said hardly. No one else spoke. They knew it would cost them heavily to kill someone like O Tanhu. There was an ancient martial arts cultivator who was weaker than O Tanhu. But in order to capture him, the country lost an entire special forces before finally killing him. 1 special forces squad. How much would it cost for a country to train them? It could be imagined that in order to capture O Tanhu, the losses wouldn't be a simple number. Because behind O Tanhu, there was a hidden sect. If they angered this sect, then the country's losses would be inestimable. This was why all hierarchy felt threatened by the hidden sects, because they had the capability. Good thing was they usually didn't intervene in national affairs, and even send some people to help with things. This O Tanhu was also very cunning. After he did that thing 20 years ago, he went and hid in the hidden sects for 10 years before coming out. Each time, he didn't come out for long, as though reminding others that the O family still had him. If Yemo could kill O Tanhu, it would be the best for the country, because the person who killed him was Yemo. Eventually, the hidden sects would go look for Yemo's trouble, not someone else. Although some hidden sects people work for the country, The hidden sects also had a rule in which the people from hidden sects must not fight each other for outside world reasons. If they did, perhaps the hidden sects would have been long gone. Only someone like Yi-Mo, who didn't know anything, dared to kill O Tamhu. The old man, who was about the same age as Han Zaixin, said, "I heard Yi-Mo finished off Nanqing's Qianlong too. If he really has so much power, then perhaps he really can." Before Han Zaixin spoke, a guard rushed in with a phone and said, "Elder Han, an urgent call." All the people here in this meeting were the hierarchy of China. Even if the guard didn't say it was urgent, they knew it would be urgent. Han Zaixin picked up the phone, and it only took a few sentences before hanging up in joy. "What is it, old Han?" the most impetuous old man asked. Han Zaixin said with joy and surprise, "I just received news that Yi-Mo killed O Tanhu and is now talking with Han Yan. The news is from my granddaughter. It will be reliable." "What? That evil tiger of the O family has been killed?" Zaixin, Shiping, immediately carry out number 2 plan. "Subjugate O Tanya and O Zhen." The old man stood up in excitement and said, "Not only did this man stand up in excitement, but so did everyone else." It was 2 different concepts. Yi-Mo killing O Tanhu and the country killing O Tanhu. Without O Tanhu, the O family was not a concern. Han Yan put the phone down and looked at Yi-Mo, thinking that the old man was always wiser. She didn't see anything extraordinary about Yi-Mo, but her grandpa could. Thinking for a while, she said to Yi-Mo, "Since you can kill O Tanhu, it means you are capable to carry out this mission. I will tell the plan to you, and we can discuss what to do." Yi-Mo waved his hand and said, "Don't tell me, I don't want to know now. You can contact me after I see what happens to the O family. I'm going first." Yi-Mo walked out without hesitation, and there was nothing Han Yan could do. When Yi-Mo came back, Yunbing and Tingting sat nervously in the house. Perhaps Yunbing noticed something was wrong. Seeing Yunbing's helpless manner, Yi-Mo felt helpless. Seeing Yi-Mo come back, Yunbing stood up in joy. It could be seen that she was really happy. "Let's go. I'll take you guys to get something to eat." Yi-Mo estimated that even if Han Zaixin agreed to bring down the O family, it wouldn't be this quick. Tingting, who was waiting desperately, heard Yi-Mo's words and immediately ran over. To her, eating was the most important thing. She heard from Yi-Mo that the O family was dealt with, and she didn't need to worry about the O family anymore and could stay with her mum all the time. Yunbing obviously seemed delighted. Although she didn't know how Yi-Mo did it, she trusted in Yi-Mo. Because from running into conflict with the O family yesterday till now, nothing had happened to her. It meant that the O family was cautious of Yi-Mo. Yunbing was thinking through whom Yi-Mo reached accordance with that the O family had to let her go. She never would have thought Yi-Mo was completely destroying the O family from its roots. Yi-Mo feared eating KFC the most, but luckily, Tingting didn't insist on eating KFC again. She wanted to eat Western cuisine. Although Yi-Mo didn't like it either, Tingting wanted to go, so he would deal with it. Seeing Yi-Mo and Tingting walking in front, Yunbing suddenly lost herself in thought, thinking that if only things could stay like this forever. She only felt safe when she was with Yi-Mo. She suddenly remembered that day at Ninghai University when Yi-Mo was being very aggressive towards her. "If you dare to touch me again, I will make the Ning Lake the place where you take a bath." That was what he said to her. She wanted to fight him with her life at the time, but now she followed behind him looking at him and Tingting. She sighed. She knew that after this, Yi-Mo was going to be on his own path, but she needed to take Tingting back to Ninghai. The only difference was that she had Tingting, and there was no threat of the O family. She suddenly had a strange thought. What would happen if she didn't run away last night? Thinking about this, her heart burned. Perhaps it could be possible tonight. Yunbing was shocked by her own thoughts. What was happening to her? Yunbing subconsciously looked at Yi-Mo. She was thinking why Ning Qingxue would reject someone so excellent. Yun Bing subconsciously looked around and saw another person. It was Feng Rong. Feng Rong was in a rush and quickly walked inside a bar with his head low. Yun Bing suddenly really wanted to ask Feng Rong about what happened those years ago and followed him into the bar. Of course. Yi Mo knew when Yun Bing suddenly left. He saw that Yun Bing didn't even tell him and went into the bar with Feng Rong and guessed that there must be something going on. Yi Mo also wanted to bring Tingting in with him when a voice interrupted him. Punk, I haven't been able to find you, but I finally met you here today. Bad luck. The person speaking seemed to be very angry, as though he had caught a long-time enemy. Punk, I haven't been able to find you, but I finally met you here today. Bad luck. The person speaking seemed to be very angry, as though he had caught a long-time enemy. Yi Mo recognized who it was. It was Qing Sun from Hua University. It seemed that he resented him quite a bit, and probably thought of him as a love enemy. Brother Sun, who is this punk? A youth from behind Qing Sun walked up. His hair was dyed yellow and had a girl that was younger than 20 in his arms. Qing Sun didn't turn around and casually said, "This is the guy that tricked away Yangqing. Didn't think I would meet him here. Qi Bing, call up a few people. I'm going to beat him until his dad doesn't even recognize him." "But Brother Sun, what about Yangqing?" the yellow-haired youth casually asked. Qing Sun subconsciously looked at the bar ahead and said, "Next time then, since I have one chance, I'll have another. But since we met him today, we can't let him escape." Yi Mo sneered and couldn't even be bothered paying attention to Qing Sun. He carried Tingting and walked towards the bar. "You want to die?" Qing Sun saw Yi Mo acting so arrogant, ignoring him and just walking away, causing him to immediately get triggered. He raised his hand and grabbed towards Yi Mo, wanting to subjugate him. Although he couldn't fight on the streets, he couldn't let Yi Mo get away. "Qing Sun, what are you doing?" As soon as Zhu Yangqing and another girl walked to the door of the bar, she saw Qing Sun grab towards Yi Mo. The moment she saw Yi Mo, she felt really happy to be able to see him again. That day after Yi Mo left, she had called him countless times but wasn't able to reach him. She even thought Yi Mo was lying, but her cousin Zhua Huatang indeed recovered. Just as soon as Qing Sun heard Zhu Yangqing's words, he felt this huge power kick into his chest. He was kicked flying a few meters away, crashing into a bin. Qi Bing also looked at Yi Mo in shock, even forgetting to help Qing Sun up. He didn't expect Yi Mo to be so strong. He clearly knew that even if he called up people, what could they do to him? "Hurry up and piss off. Do you want me to kick you again?" Yi Mo yelled at the yellow-haired guy. Qi Bing reacted and quickly ran to Qing Sun. As he left, he added, "You dare attack Qing Sun, you're a goner." At this moment, Zhu Yangqing had rushed in front of Yi Mo. She also saw Yi Mo's kick and yelled out in shock. Yi Mo noticed the girl beside Zhu Yangqing. She was as good-looking as Zhu Yangqing. The delicate expression in her eyes made her seem more attractive than Zhu Yangqing. Her eyes were big and seemed very innocent. At least, nothing unlikable could be seen from the surface. People couldn't help to like her just looking at her innocent and delicate look. Zhu Yangqing had reacted. She didn't expect Yi Mo to be so strong. It seemed he was not only a master of medicine, but also in martial arts. This made Zhu Yangqing excited as she charged up, grabbing Yi Mo and saying, "Dr. Yi, I didn't think you were so strong. Qing Sun is a member of our school's martial arts association." But soon, she found that Yi Mo's attention was on the girl who came with her. She pouted and said, "Hey, uncle, don't look at her with eyes like wolves, please. She is the prettiest girl in our school. Don't even think about it. Don't forget you're a big uncle." Zhuo Yangqing immediately changed Yi Mo's title from doctor to uncle. She was rather unsatisfied. She came up to greet Yi Mo, but he treated her like air. Hearing Zhuo Yangqing's words, The girl called Shuang Shuang walked up and shyly said, "Hello, senior student. I'm Yangqing's classmate, Nia Shuang Shuang." Yi Emo suddenly felt a little cold. He couldn't tell why he felt that way. His spirit sense noticed that when Nia Shuang Shuang looked at his kick, there was a ray of astute. She wasn't as shy as she acted at all. There was this sense from her that made him feel cold. Yi Mo's sense were right because he had spirit sense. This Nia Shuang Shuang wasn't simple, even a bit eerie. "You're Nia Shuang Shuang? Do you live in Beijing?" Yi Mo's questions made Zhu Yangqing more unhappy. It seemed that Yi Mo was really taking an interest into the Nia Shuang Shuang. He had never asked who she was the first time he saw her. Nia Shuang Shuang lowered her head in worry. Although she was sure Yi Mo couldn't see, she didn't know Yi Mo had spirit sense, and her expression was caught completely by Yi Mo. Zhu Yangqing spoke at this moment. "Uncle Yi Mo, stop asking. Shuang Shuang is living at her auntie's house, and she doesn't really like to talk. If you want to ask something, just ask me. But don't chase Shuang Shuang. As for why, don't ask. Shuang Shuang is a person with misfortune, and she's scared of talking to guys." Yi Mo nodded, although he didn't know Nia Shuang Shuang, but he knew she was completely wrong. His spirit sense found a rather strong sense of the other sex. This woman was not only not a shy girl, but instead a very lustful girl. He didn't know why Zhu Yangqing would stay with a girl like that, but Yi Mo knew it wasn't something he could manage. As long as it didn't harm her, he wouldn't care. But at this moment, Shuang Shuang secretly studied Yi Mo, and her eyes happened to be caught by Yi Mo. Her face blushed more. Of course, Zhu Yanqing also saw Nia Shuang Shuang's glance and felt annoyed. These two were mutually attracted and ignored her as though she was air. Was she that ugly? Yi Mo had decided to ask his sister about her. If his sister knew about her, she would tell his sister to stay away from her. This woman wasn't easy to mess with. He wanted to remind Zhu Yangqing, but he resisted the urge after seeing Zhu Yangqing's face. He casually said, "I have some business at the bar. You guys have fun." "Wait, we also want to go to the bar. It's rare that Shuang Shuang want to come out for a drink, so I'll be going with her," Zhu Yangqing immediately said. Then she looked at Tingting in Yi Mo's arms and asked, "Brother Yi, this girl is so cute. Who is she?" Yi Mo wanted to cry and laugh. In the short brief moment, Zhu Yangqing called him with 3 different things. He remembered what Qi Bing said. Qi Bing and Qing Sen obviously knew Zhu Yangqing was coming to this bar. How did they know? Thinking about this, Yi Mo casually asked, "Qing your uncle is my friend and you're still studying at school. It's not a good thing coming to the bar, especially this far from your school." "Pfft, uncle, brother Yi, how much older are you than me? Stop talking to me like that. Shuang Shuang wanted to come out for a drink today, not me. She said she liked here, so we came," Zhu Yangqing nonchalantly said. Then she immediately said, "The recipe you gave us last time, my aunt has prepared it. Can you go back with me today?" Nia Shuang Shuang pulled Zhu Yangqing's clothes, wanting her to stop talking. However, Zhu Yangqing still said, "What are you scared of? We're all adults, just coming out for a drink." Yi Mo looked again at Nia Shuang Shuang, thinking that it was indeed because of her. It seemed that Zhu Yangqing was being sold and still counted money for her. This girl was too dumb, and this Nia Shuang Shuang was too insidious. Thinking about this, Yi Mo said, "In that case, let's go drink together on me." The reason he wanted to help Zhu Yangqing was due to Zhu Aigua. Zhu Aigua was a good person, and he seemed to look after Zhu Yangqing quite a lot. "But Yangqing, sorry, I think Brother Yi is right, so I won't go." Nia Shuang Shuang spoke and secretly looked at Yi Mo. Her eyes were blossoming more red, rendering the sense of an innocent girl. "Shuang Shuang, you're so pretty. No wonder Uncle Yi is interested in you." Even Zhu Yangqing could see Nia Shuang Shuang's beauty. "Yangqing, don't talk like that. I'm going back. You must have some business with Brother Yi. I won't disturb you guys. I'll be going first." Suddenly, Nie Shuang looked at Yi Mo again before suddenly taking out a small pink paper from her pocket and giving it to Yi Mo. Brother Yi, this is my number. Her voice was very soft. She didn't even say goodbye to Zhu Yangqing and ran off. Her face still seemed flushed with embarrassment. Yi Mo looked at the paper and shook his head, thinking that if it was a normal person, perhaps he would call her at night. However, she found the wrong person. Zhu Yangqing said in a strange tone, Shuang, this girl is being anthomaniac today. I've never seen her give her phone number to someone else without being asked. Yi Mo sneered, never seen it? If she never did, would she make her phone number into such an exquisite card and put it in her pockets? It was obvious it was prepared. Brother Yi, don't tell me you're in love with Shuang. Zhuo Yangqing asked after seeing Shuang was long gone. Brother Yi, don't tell me you're in love with Shuang. Zhuo Yangqing asked after seeing Shuang was long gone. Yi Mo frowned but didn't talk. He was thinking who Nie Shuang was, and what was her purpose in Hua Uni. If her sister wasn't there, it wouldn't matter so much, but she was. It was very dangerous to have someone like that in Hua Uni. What? If you like her, then you do. It's not like I'm going to tell everyone. Perhaps I can even help you. Why aren't you answering me? Seriously, Zhu Yangqing said bitterly. Yi Mo sneered. If I really was to love one of you two, I would rather love you than to love that Nie Shuang. Really? Brother Yi, you really love me? This is fabulous. Although I don't love you too much, but I can tell my third uncle that you love me. You don't know how much my third uncle admires you. Once he knows you love me, I wonder how he's going to suck up to me? Zhu Yangqing was suddenly happy and held Yi Mo's hand, talking non-stop. Yi Mo twisted his hand and grabbed Zhu Yangqing's wrist instead, shooting his qi inside her body. There was indeed a frosty qi. It was obviously by Nie Shuang. That woman was bisexual. Zhu Yangqing screamed after having her wrist grabbed by Yi Mo. She could hold Yi Mo's hand, but Yi Mo couldn't hold hers. She wanted to escape from it and quickly said, Uncle Yi, don't tell me you're serious. Even if you like me, it can't be that fast. I never said I liked you. Hurry up and let me go. Shut up. You really think high of yourself, Yi Mo reproached. He felt speechless. He used his spirit qi to dispel the frigid qi before releasing her hand. Zhuo Yangqing was still struggling before and was immediately scared to a halt by Yi Mo's yell. She just realized she was quite afraid of Yi Mo. She finally felt relieved after Yi Mo let go of her hand and didn't do anything. But she immediately said, surprisingly, how come I feel a lot more comfortable? Brother Yi, grab me more. Then Zhu Yangqing reached her out wrist. Yi Mo rolled his eyes and said, Take back your cat claws, I'm not interested. Stop thinking that you're too perfect. You. Zhu Yangqing felt wronged. He wanted it before, but now he didn't want it when she gave it to her. However, it was indeed true, she was a lot more comfortable after being grabbed by him. Yi Mo looked at Tingting in his arms. She had fallen asleep on his shoulder. He then turned to Zhu Yangqing and said, Go back, I have some business at the bar. But one thing I need to remind you. You can take it as a warning. What thing? Uncle Yi, just say it, Zhu Yangqing immediately said. Don't change the way you call me around. It annoys me. But that isn't the main thing. The main thing is, don't get close with Nie Shuang. It's bad for you. Whether or not you listen is up to you. Then, Yi Mo turned and left. Zhuo Yangqing was dazed for a long time before frowning. Why did he remind her not to get close with Nie Shuang? Shuang was not an arrogant person. In fact, she was the prettiest girl in the uni and was also empathetic. She couldn't understand why. She wanted to stop Yi Mo and ask, but she didn't need to. Yi Mo was already stopped. 2 cops had stopped Yi Mo's way. Zhuo Yangqing looked at Qing Sun, who was not far, and knew it was his fault. Take out your identity. You were fighting in the streets. We need you to come with us to the police department. The taller police stopped Yemo and said, Of course. Yemo also saw Ching Sun. He sneered and knew they were in the same group, or perhaps even Ching Sun's lackey. If it was when he was studying at Ninghai, he would have no choice but to go with them. But now he just sneered. Piss off. Just when Zhui Yangqing wanted to help Yemo say something, she heard Yemo tell the police to piss off. She was worried. Why didn't this guy know to change? He didn't know how to stay calm at all. Even if I can get you out later, there's no avoiding going in the retention center. Zhuo Yangqing sighed and took out her phone, preparing to call her third uncle. As soon as Yi Mo said piss off, the faces of the two policemen changed. The shorter one pointed at Tingting and Zhuo Yangqing and said, We suspect you in child trafficking. Now, we're taking you to the police department for investigation. If you have any questions, you can appeal later. Zhuo Yangqing heard the words of the two police and immediately charged up, yelling, You're bullsh *ting. Where do you see I'm underage? I'm telling you now, I'm trafficking young pretty boys. Apprehend me too. Then, Zhuo Yangqing raised her not small chests and shafted Yemo's arms, obviously meaning, What are you going to do? Forgetting completely, she just thought to tell Yemo to stay calm. Ching Sun from afar was furious. Not only was he hit, but he also saw the person he liked shaft Yemo's arm. Yemo wasn't surprised Zhuo Yangqing did that. It wasn't the first time she did. The two cops were shocked by Zhuo Yangqing's words, but the taller police reacted and immediately said, It could be sex trade, take them both back. Zhuo Yangqing's face changed and was taking out her phone to call. However, Yemo raised his arm and stopped her. He just took out a small blue book and opened it in front of the taller police and said, I'll count to 3. If you don't piss off, then prepare to eat prison food. The two policemen immediately saw the red stamp, Special Ops Force Flying Snowhead Instructor, China Special Forces Bureau. They were so scared that they sweated immediately. Perhaps they didn't dare to start trouble with the sweeping lady of the Special Forces, much less the head instructor of flying snow. Other people didn't know how strong this position was, but the cops knew all too well. And that stamp had an obvious weak glow to it, meaning it's authentic. This couldn't be faked now. Before Yemo even counted one, the two policemen already quickly said multiple apologies and ran. They didn't even dare to go to Ching Sun. Brother Yi, what did you show them? Why is it so effective? Can you get me one too? Zhuo Yangqing knew she was being dumb as soon as she finished asking. That was obviously an identity document. What document could make the cops scared? Must be powerful military ones. Yemo's mouth spasmed and said, You can ask your third uncle. Zhuo Yangqing knew that Yemo was playing a joke on her and unhappily said, Why did you tell me to stay away from Nya Shuang just then? Yemo sneered. Even if Nya Shuang wanted to drink, was there not one nearby the school? Why did she have to come to this one? Since she did, why did Ching Sun know? Why did he also appear here? This is too coincidental, isn't it? You're saying. Zhuo Yangqing immediately understood. Nya Shuang listened to Ching Sun to trick her over. Was she actually just putting on an act? I'll ask Ching Sun. When Zhuo Yangqing turned around, Ching Sun was nowhere to be seen. I didn't think she was this sort of person. I've judged her wrong. This Ching Sun isn't a good thing either, Zhuo Yangqing said hatefully. Mo didn't tell her the eeriness about Nya Shuang. That was no good for her. However, he still had to remind her and said, Don't come in contact with her. It's no good for you. So what if I come in contact with her? I want revenge. Plus, aren't you planning on getting close to her? Otherwise, why did you take her name card? This little fox demon. It was obvious Zhuo Yangqing wouldn't be able to let it go without getting back at Nya Shuang. Moreover, this Nya Shuang also became a fox demon. She forgot that not long ago, she said Nya Shuang was pitiful in front of Yemo. Yemo sneered and said, Do you feel she's usually very timid and innocent? Would an innocent, shy person always have these name cards with flirty smells? Then Yemo took out that pink name card before continuing. It's up to you whether you believe it. You can also think of it as me bullsh asterisk ting. Zhui Yangqing wasn't a stupid girl. Although she couldn't completely analyze things sometimes, it didn't mean she knew nothing. From the series of things that happened today, and then reflecting back to what usually happens, Zhui Yangqing immediately understood that what Yi Mo said might possibly be true. She suddenly thought of Yi Mo grabbing her wrist and releasing it, then the change in her body. Was this related to Nya Shuangshuang? Just when Zhui Yangqing wanted to Yi Mo about it, Yi Mo's face suddenly changed as he rushed into the bar. Yi Mo saw that Yun Bing suddenly rushed towards the man she followed like crazy and was about to throw a bottle on him. But immediately, she was suppressed by the two people beside her and was dragged inside the bar. Yi Mo saw that Yun Bing suddenly rushed towards the man she followed like crazy and was about to throw a bottle on him. But immediately, she was suppressed by the two people beside her and was dragged inside the bar. Yi Mo went in and kicked those two men away without hesitation and pulled Yun Bing over. Yun Bing, with messy hair, saw that the person pulling her was Yi Mo and couldn't help to run into his arms and weep. Zhuo Yangqing came in and saw Yun Bing and then looked at Yi Mo. She felt this was complicated and just stood behind Yi Mo, saying nothing. Feng Rong stood up and looked coldly at Yi Mo. There was a youth beside him who sat still and didn't even look at Yi Mo, as though Yi Mo was someone about to die. The two men struggled a long time before getting up and was about to attack again when the youth sitting still waved his hand. We're civilized people. Better to let the police deal with these maggots. Tell the police to not let this bastard come out again. Without the youth's reminder, the people from the bar had called the police. They could tell that although Yi Mo was by himself, he still had the advantage. The four people together on Feng Rong's side was no match for him. Yun Bing had calmed down now and got up from Yi Mo's arms while sobbing. Zhuo Yangqing passed some tissue to Yun Bing. What's the matter? Yi Mo asked casually. Yun Bing pointed at Feng Rong and hatefully said, "This animal, years ago, plotted against me, and now he want to help someone harm me for the second time." Yi Mo frowned. Although Yun Bing didn't say exactly what he did, he still understood that this Feng Rong was her original boyfriend. Not only did he not protect her, but he sold her instead. Yi Mo looked at Yun Bing unhappily, thinking that it was lucky that the second time didn't succeed. If it did, it was still her fault. As though seeing Yi Mo's unhappy eyes, Yun Bing lowered her head, thinking even if she didn't hear this today, she wouldn't be harmed by him a second time. She wasn't an idiot. She was fully disappointed with Feng Rong, much less when she couldn't stop thinking about Yi Mo now. What thing could make him unable to be reached for 8 years in America? Why did he happen to leave as soon as it happened to her? The police car sounded, and the two nearby policemen had came. From the speed they came, it could be seen that the reporter's status wasn't low. "Take this person away. He committed a heavy crime. I will call and provide evidence later." The way that the youth ordered made people feel as though the two police were his servants. The two policemen raised their head and saw Yi Mo. They froze, thinking not good. The person they feared seeing the most was this person. Why did these people have to mess with him? "Why aren't you moving?" The youth saw the two policemen, just stood still, and said unhappily. Yun Bing handed Ting Ting to Yun Bing and walked up in front of the youth. He grabbed his neck and held him up and gave him a few slaps on the face before kicking him besides the two men earlier. The youth's mouth was full of blood and he spat out a few teeth. He was paralyzed on the ground, wanting to talk, but unable to. "You." Feng Rong looked at Yi Mo in terror. He didn't expect Yi Mo to be this ferocious, daring to attack him like that in front of police. What made him unable to understand was why did the police come and just watch him get hit but not do anything? However, Yemo didn't teach Feng Rong a lesson and just patted on his shoulder a few times. Remember to not go anywhere tomorrow. Better to eat more today. Piss off. Feng Rong didn't know that he was death sentenced by Yemo since his heart meridian had been sealed by ladder. He thought Yemo let him go due to Yunbing. Thinking about the man on the ground, he yelled cockily, "You dare to attack Yi Lian." Hearing Feng Rong's words, Yemo was surprised. He looked at the youth on the ground and asked, "You're from the Yi family?" "That's right, you scared." Feng Rong sneered immediately, but before he finished, he found his face was spitting out the same amount of blood and teeth as Yiling. He now understood that if Yi Mo wanted to beat him up, he would. Yi Mo originally wanted him to have a calmer life before death, but this Feng Rong pissed him off. Yi Lian saw Yi Mo walk over and wiped the blood from his face using an unclear tone. "Bastard, you dare to attack me." However, Yi Mo stood on his face once again and said, "I want to hit the Yi family people. You tell me if I dare to hit you? Last time, I went up and smashed the Yi family big gate. I didn't see you. You are probably only a small insect of the Yi family." Yi Lian looked at Yi Mo in terror. He finally understood that this youth was that ancestor of the Yi family, Yemo. He didn't dare to be cocky anymore. Even the leader Yi Beirong didn't dare to say anything when Yi Mo smashed his way in, much less him from a branch lineage. He could only shake and hate himself for not recognizing this was Yi Mo. When he saw Yi Mo raise his foot again after breaking the legs of his two lackeys, he was so scared he quickly said, "Brother Yi, this isn't my fault." "Feng Rong, that animal," said Yunbing, was by herself and told me to make a move. I listened to him, and that's why I planned to. Arga. Before Yi Lian finished, Yi Mo still stepped down. Yi Mo turned to the two policemen and said, "Did you hear their verdict?" "Yes, we heard it." The two policemen bowed. "Oh, in that case, take these scums away. You don't need to not find me. Contributing to social stability is what I should be doing," Yi Mo blandly said. Hearing these words, Zhui Yangqing couldn't help bursting into laughter. Yi Mo acted as though he didn't hear it as he turned to the two policemen and said, "I suspect this bar is problematic. Notify your leader. They must investigate this. Hand the result to Flying Eagle Li Hu and tell him to notify me. If you can't find anything, then don't blame me then. Same if you use a few small fries as scapegoats." Yi Mo wouldn't believe this bar wasn't problematic when Nye Shuangshuang chose to drink here. "Sorry, I caused trouble for you again," Yunbing said apologetically. Yi Mo waved his hand and said, "It's not a problem if I'm here. If I'm not, then that would be a problem, so—" Although Yi Mo didn't finish his words, Yunbing understood what he meant. She should not be so impulsive in the future. Feng Rong destroyed her life, and that made her unable to control herself. However, this was just once. There wouldn't be anything that would make her so emotional again. To her, her past was dead, and there was no point in remembering it. "Let's go eat." Yi Mo saw Yunbing was unhappy and said casually. Although Zhui Yangqing didn't know what was going on, she could understand part of the situation and quickly said, "Brother Yi, you and this sister can come to my house to eat, and—" It seemed she didn't forget about checking up on her grandpa. Yi Mo agreed. Seeing this, Zhui Yangqing quickly called her third uncle and her small aunt. Immediately, everyone in the Zhuo family started moving. The Zhuo family had been so hopeful of Yi Mo's coming. Zhuo Yushan's coral poison was too easy for Yi Mo now. In less than half an hour, it was all gone. The Zhuo family was very polite to Yunbing due to Yi Mo, even more than Yi Mo. From Zhuo Yushan's perspective, Yi Mo was an excellent stock. If Yunbing was his woman, it would be more effective to treat her nice. Just when Yi Mo was prepared to leave, the news reported the matter between O Tanya and O Chin. Yi Mo nodded, thinking this elder Han was really fast. It had only been a day, and they were done. These old people probably had the intention already, and used him as the leading bird. But despite knowing he was used by them, he would still kill O Tanhu. The O family is done. Zhui Yushan looked at the TV and sighed. He continued, the O family was too cocky. They've harmed a lot of people in recent years, much less what happened 20 years ago. Yun Bing looked at Yi Mo in shock. She didn't expect Yi Mo meant this when he said the O family wouldn't look for trouble with her. Just how much power did he have? Yi Mo smiled to Yun Bing and nodded. Yun Bing immediately felt warm at heart. Even if he wasn't her man, it was still her luck to be able to know someone as magical as him. Thinking that she wouldn't have to live a life of terror, she suddenly felt optimistic. Wu Liang Mountain was called Meng Le Mountain before. It had an area of a few thousand acres. Wu Liang Mountain was called Meng Le Mountain before. It had an area of a few thousand acres. The Qing dynasty poet Dai Jiajing wrote a poem here. Everyone knew that Dai Jiajing was a famous poet during the times of Daoguang Emperor. People rarely knew that he also had a brother Dai Jiahui. Around 1816, they met someone from Dian Song of the hidden sects here and were taken in due to their talent. Dai Jiajin wanted to be a scholar and rejected to stay, but Dai Jiahui stayed. They were scared that if they left at the same time, the hidden sect people would kill their family. After Dai Jiajing came out, he participated in the national test. He was 24 that year and was sent to Hunan province as the governor, but still had no news of Dai Jiahui. He missed his brother, and so he came to Wuliang Mountain and wrote the poem. His poem meant that inside the Wuliang Mountain, the area was actually very large and high up in the clouds. Its vastness was so great that one couldn't see it with bare eyes. Now, Wuliang Mountain was a national environmental protection site. It hid countless unknown scenery as well as countless unknown places. At this moment, at a place where normal people couldn't reach in the Wuliang Mountains, there was a large area of houses. The place looked ancient. Outside these houses, there was a curved path reaching to the bottom of the mountain. Looking from the bottom, these houses were like an immortal realm hidden in the clouds. In front of the houses was a big tower with an enormous character of Serenity. This was the hidden sect, Serenity. There was a distant room, and in it, Luo Susu sat there dazed while thinking about something. She had returned to the hidden sects for a month of 2. Originally, she thought it would only take a few days to forget that man, but it had been 2 months now, and she still couldn't calm down to cultivate her serene heart manual. Once she closed her eyes, Yi Mo would appear in front of her. Those scenes that she couldn't hide away showed up again and again. He almost died due to thirst, but still gave the water bag to her. He knew it was the desert and how important water was for people. What sort of magical man was he? Even though he was almost eaten by those insects, he still didn't want to leave her behind. Instead, he carried her and continued running. What sort of an emotional man was he? He searched around for water everywhere to save her while his lips were cracked dry. Then he cut open his own wrist to feed her blood until he went unconscious. However, that was the first time she met him, and as for her, she just gave him some water at most. And the pool he gave her, that was the best birthday present she got in her entire life. This present was given to her in the desert. Who could give such a present in the desert? What sort of a person was he? Luo Susu thought about Yumo's lips. That moment when she kissed him, his lips were very cold but warm at the same time. Now that she thought about, she felt lost in the thought. I will forget about him, I must. Luo Susu cultivated her serene heart manual, but before she could even complete a circle, she spat out another mouthful of blood. This was already the 6th time it happened. Susu, our sex cultivation forbids joy, worry, anger, emotions, hurt. The words of her master echoed in her ears, but she still went against it all. If her master was still here, she could ask her, but she wasn't. She didn't know if he was doing well. Did he finish his things? Luo Susu's thoughts went to Yi Mo again. What was happening to her? Why did she always think about him? It seemed that in her memory, she and Yi Mo knew each other a long time ago. However, no matter how she searched her memory, there were only those in the desert. Perhaps she knew him from her past life. Luo Susu's door suddenly opened and a nun-looking woman walked in. This nun was called Jing Shi, her master's Shurdi. Although she was in her 40s, she looked like a young woman who hasn't even reached her 30s. Not only was her skin smooth, her eyes and brows were clearly defined. Her lips had this sexy rudiness to it. Looking meticulously, she was an oddly beautiful woman. The most noticeable feature about her was her sharp nose. If her eyes and hair wasn't black, she would look Western. Shirshu, one Luo Susu stood up and called. The nun looked at Luo Susu and frowned. Susu, you are no longer suited to cultivating at Serenity. You just went to the mortal world once, and you were enticed by it, losing your Tao heart. But you are from the hidden sect, and you must not be led into the mortal world again. Shirshu, Luo Susu said worriedly. She knew this Shirshu didn't like her. She didn't know why, but it should be related to her master. There must be some punishment the way her Shirshu was talking. The nun shook her head and said, Susu, even if you can't cultivate our way, you don't have to go back to the normal world. Before Luo Susu could feel relieved, the nun continued. The young master of Diansong is only 30 years of age, but he is tertiary stage of yellow level. His future is boundless. Plus, Diansong's martial arts are good for you. Our sects have always had good relations, and we're not far from each other. If you marry into Diansong... No. Luo Susu's face went pale. No matter what, she wouldn't marry someone. As for why, she had this rejection in her heart. This nun's face sunk and was about to talk once again when another voice said, Jing, she sure may. If Susu doesn't want it, then don't force her. Although we have fallen, we're not at the stage to rely on marriage to survive. Yes, sure, Jia. However, Jing, she obviously didn't seem very respectful to her. Luo Susu went up and greeted. Luo Susu greets sect leader. MHM. The nun nodded and said after a while, Susu, you do have a big problem after coming back. Your heart can no longer calm down like before. Then the nun started to think what to do with Luo Susu. Leader Sherbo, I wish to ask for one more thing. Because I went out this time and some things occurred, if I can't completely resolve these things, it may be very hard for me to calm my heart to cultivate again. So I plead leader to allow me to go out again. Luo Susu had this sudden urge to see Yi Mo again. She wanted to ask if Yi Mo had seen her before and had some memory of her before. No. Jing, she interrupted. Jing Xian Shijia, Susu yearns for the mortal world. If we let her back in, perhaps something would happen, and it would be our sect that is embarrassed. Luo Susu was shaking with anger due to these words, but didn't dare to object. However, Jing Xian nodded and said, Then what do you think should happen? Jing, she didn't even look at Luo Susu and just said, In my opinion, it was already against the rules that Luo Susu went out last time. After she came back, she couldn't cultivate. I think we should send her to the cold room for 3 years. Luo Susu was shaken. Cold room for 3 years. That was like a death sentence. With her only yellow-level intermediate stage power, it was death if she went in there. Her master died 3 months after being closed in the cold room for 2 years. Her master was also sent to that cold room due to this Shirshu. Now, she didn't expect she would be walking the same path due to her. Jing Xian glanced at Jing Shi and sighed. Susu, you might as well go to Diansong. Luo Susu shook her head and said, Leader Sherbo, I will go to the cold room. Unworthy thing. Jing, she didn't even say goodbye to Jing Xian and just left. Sigh. Jing Xian looked at Luo Susu and left. Although she knew that she wanted to take revenge on Luo Susu's master, but she couldn't say anything. Leader Sherbo, I want to change my name, Luo Susu suddenly called to the leaving Jingxian. Jingxian turned around and looked at Luo Susu with guilt. Susu, tell me, I will change it for you in the sect. I can do that at least. She also knew that if Luo Susu went to the cold room, there would be no coming back. However, she didn't dare to stop Jingxi's decision. She just felt guilty to Luo Susu's master in her. Luo Susu wasn't dumb. Jingxian was the leader but was succumbed to Jingxi. If there wasn't something that Jingxi had a grasp of, she definitely wouldn't believe it. Sherbo, I want to change my name to Luoing. I found that I often call myself Luoing in my dreams, Luo Susu said. She was worried for her. Sherbo. Jingxian looked once at Luo Susu and nodded. She took out a jade necklace from her sleeves and gave it to Luo Susu and said, Susu, from now on, you are Luoing. This necklace was sent over by a friend from the Luo Song Magical Artifact Social. This is a real magical artifact. It's yours now. Good luck, I'm going. 1 TL note. Shu, referring to anyone in the same sect who is in the same generation as your master but younger than him. Sherbo, same as Shu, but referring to older than your master. At night, after Yi Mo sent Yunbing and Tingting back, he went straight to Han Zixin. However, Yunbing twisted and turned unable to fall asleep. She knew that as soon as the day was bright, she and Tingting would go back to Ninghai. She would no longer have the chance to be with Yi Mo anymore. Perhaps tonight was the last night she would stay together with Yi Mo. At night, after Yi Mo sent Yunbing and Tingting back, he went straight to Han Zixin. However, Yunbing twisted and turned unable to fall asleep. She knew that as soon as the day was bright, she and Tingting would go back to Ninghai. She would no longer have the chance to be with Yi Mo anymore. Perhaps tonight was the last night she would stay together with Yi Mo. The more she thought, the more she regretted running away from Yi Mo's room. However, she felt too hard to summon the courage to go again. She knew if she didn't take the initiative, Yi Mo wouldn't come for her. Sometimes she felt she was a bad woman, but she knew that in the depth of her heart, what she was thinking wasn't completely to repay Yi Mo. It was because she really wanted to be together with Yi Mo, even if it was just for one night. She was afraid Yi Mo would think she was trying to use him, but she knew that she really didn't think that way. Yunbing had made up her mind. After Yi Mo comes back to sleep, she would go to his room again. Although it was a bit shameless, she would still do it for Yi Mo. At around 10 p.m., Yi Mo still hadn't come back, but Yunbing was almost about to fall asleep. Finally, the door sounded. The sleepy Yunbing immediately sat up in nervousness, but she heard the knocking sound from her own room. Her heart was raised. Was Yi Mo coming over to her? How could this be? Tingting was still sleeping. Thinking about this, Yunbing wanted to get off the bed and look. But at this moment, the lights were turned on. Yunbing was dumbfounded. The person who came in wasn't Yi Mo, but a girl. She still had a bag in her hands, so she realized it was probably Yiling. Yiling knew Yi Mo was at Beijing and no longer had the mood to play in America. She came back by herself first, but didn't expect to see Yunbing when she opened her room and froze. You are Yiling, Yunbing said. Yiling nodded and asked, You are? I'm Yunbing, Yi Mo's English teacher. Yunbing quickly explained but felt relieved and disappointed at the same time. She didn't have the courage to go to Yi Mo's room anymore. Now that Yiling was back, she couldn't even if she wanted to. You are Mrs. Yunbing. I've heard my brother talk about you, Yiling said in surprise. Yi Mo said Yunbing saved his life before, but now it seemed there was some relationship between them. She immediately saw Tingting and was shocked. Yi Mo didn't tell her Yunbing had a child and she was so old already. In that case, She was obviously not suitable with her brother. Seeing Yi Ling look at Ting Ting, Yun Bing quickly explained what happened from Hong Kong till now. My brother went out. Yi Ling thought Emo was asleep. As though knowing Emo would come at night, Han Zaixin had prepared tea and snacks. But even so, when Emo actually came, Han Zaixin felt relieved. He didn't have any way if Emo didn't come, because his phone was always off. Emo saw that other than Elder Han and Han Yen, there was also another man in his 50s. Han Zaixin was very polite to Emo, seeing him come in. He quickly stood up. Emo, this is the military laboratories, Li Xiang. Old Li, this is Emo I told you about. Han Zaixin just introduced the two, but didn't say Li Xiang's position. Li Xiang also nodded to Emo. In his eyes, although Emo was strong, he was still young. For someone in high status like them, they only needed to be nice, and Emo would be extremely grateful. And it seemed pretty easy to use Emo this time. Thus, he didn't understand why Han Zaixin took Emo so seriously. In his impression, Emo was a simple-minded but strong youth. Emo didn't care, seeing that Li Xiang seemed to be a little rude. He couldn't even be bothered to nod. To him, there was no point in getting close with such a person. Their pursuits were different. It was just a deal between him and Han Zaixin. Seeing that Emo couldn't even be bothered to nod, Li Xiang couldn't keep it together. However, he was in a high status for a long time and had some control. Han Zaixin frowned, thinking this old Li was good, but just underestimated people. Seeing that Han Zaixin wanted to ease up the tension, he waved his hand and sat down. Elder Han, don't waste time. Since this is a deal, just tell me what to do. I prefer to be straightforward. Han Zaixin had some understanding of Emo's personality and nodded. In that case, I'll be straightforward. We researched the model you gave Li Hu carefully last time. It's an extremely valuable military secret. We originally thought it was just worth tens of millions, but by the looks of it now, that's only a minor fraction of it. Emo immediately knew the mission was related to this, but he already gave the thing to Han Zaixin. Why did they bring it up? Han Zaixin continued. The conclusion we got is that this model is only a part of it. It's only the outer energy core part. The nucleus of the thing isn't there. Now that we know how important this data is, we can't have such precious thing in the hands of others. Although we don't know who invented this data, but it could be said to be a military milestone. Then Han Zaixin looked at Emo. I think you should know. We want you to get back the remaining part. Regardless if our country can really create it, it's much better to have this in our hands than in others. You want me to find you this? Emo frowned when Dong gave this to him. Where would he find it? Han Zaixin nodded seriously. Indeed, I think only you can find this. One reason is that you gave it to us, so you should know something about where it came from. The second is that normal people's power wouldn't be able to retrieve such a precious data, so I want you to go with Han Yen and find the remaining data. Li Xiang added timely, it's every citizen's responsibility to serve the country, so this is not only a mission, but an honor. Emo looked coldly at Li Xiang. Shut up! Stop playing your games. Li Xiang's face immediately changed. He didn't understand Emo, so he took out those big ideas he used to educate young people with. Of course, Han Zaixin knew Emo's personality. Even if Emo knew his position, he would still be nothing in the eyes of Emo. Emo was someone who wouldn't get up early without benefit. It was useless to educate him with those big ideals. If he owed the country, then he would repay the debt himself. Emo hated empty words. He quickly stopped Li Xiang, who was going to throw a tantrum. Old Li, Emo is like that, don't be like that. Han Yen sat by the side, saying nothing. It was completely irrelevant to her, but she looked coldly at Li Xiang. It seemed she also despised him. Han Zaixin's payment of 1 block of green silver sand should be enough. In Emo's heart, that was worth countless times more than that military model. However, Only he knew the worth of the green silver sand. As such, Yi Emo knew Han Zaixin's reward was enough, but Han Zaixin didn't. Seeing Yi Emo not talk, Han Zaixin was afraid Yi Emo would regret, and quickly said, "The next batch of material is coming in 3 months. Then I'll let you pick 10 more. Yi Emo waved his hand and said, "I agree to this. I'll try, regardless of whether I succeed or not. I won't return the green silver sand." Yi Emo was not interested at all in picking 10 more. If he could pick out 5 or 6 things, he would already be happy. There wouldn't be that much good materials for him to pick anyway. "Okay, you and Yen Er can start tomorrow." Han Zaixin stood up in joy. Then he turned to Han Yen and said, "Yen Er, no matter what, safety first, okay?" However, Yi Emo said, "No need, I'll go by myself. It's cumbersome to have an extra person." "Humph, Yi Emo, I admit you're strong, but if you think you can beat me for sure, you're wrong. Otherwise, let's fight first." Han Yen was discomforted by Yi Emo's words. "No need to fight. I'll let you come with me." Looking at the way Han Yen jumped into fighting stance, he knew he underestimated her body technique at least. "No need to fight. I'll let you come with me." Looking at the way Han Yen jumped into fighting stance, he knew he underestimated her body technique at least. No matter how strong she was, she wouldn't be cumbersome with that movement technique and might even give him some help. Of course, another plan was that since she was from the hidden sex, perhaps he could try to get something out of her mouth. That was the most important. Han Yen intentionally showed some ability and saw that Yi Emo indeed seemed to be impressed as he allowed her to go. She raised her head high in self-satisfaction. Ever since Yi Emo killed O Tanhu, she felt she was no match for him. But even though she felt she was no match for him, she felt she lost to no one in movement technique, even Yi Emo. "Buy the ticket to Xian Mountain and wait for me at the airport tomorrow morning." Yi Emo dropped these words and left quickly. He needed to find Wendong before he could find the thing. Only Wendong knew where it came from. Plus, he wanted to go to Flowing Snake. He needed to buy some things that could prevent Nya Shuang to not attack his relatives. "He's a conceited person," Han Yen suddenly said. "Humph, I think he's an arrogant freak, not respecting his elders." Li Xiang sneered. Han Zaixin waved his hand and said, "Old Li, you need to change your temper. Do you know why the Song family didn't dare to touch him? Your Li family is also a big family of Beijing, so you would know after you ask martially. Sometimes you can't just be doing academics." Li Xiang looked at Han Zaixin in shock. He thought Han Zaixin would be on his side, but Han Zaixin was helping Yi Emo. Marshal Li was his big brother, and also the most authoritative person in the Li family. He didn't expect Han Zaixin to tell him to ask his big brother. Did his big brother look at Yi Emo differently? Why would someone so young and abandoned by the Yi family be worth noting? Yi Emo bought a lot of daily products. Although he was stage 3 Qi gathering, he was still fearful of his experience in the desert. He didn't believe he was completely safe just because he was stage 3. There might be Earth level or even sky level masters. Even if he was surrounded by those bugs in the desert, he would die. After he bought enough things, he called Nya Shuang. Nya Shuang's shy voice sounded. It was very sweet and made people feel comfortable, and even render this impulsive feeling. When Yi Emo came to Hua University, Nya Shuang stood at the door looking very nervous. She wore a plain green dress and her hair was wet. A few strands came down her soft-skinned face, making her seem more nimble and innocent. Accompanied with her high soaring chest, almost all the students at the door would secretly look at her. Just when Yi Emo walked in front of her, he smelt this faint aroma. It seemed to be natural coming from the body. Seeing Yi Emo come over, Nya Shuang rubbed her sleeves nervously and seemed to say something, but Yi Emo knew she said nothing. Seeing Yi Emo just stand in front of her and not say anything for a long time, Nia Shuang raised her head and used those innocent-looking eyes and said, "Brother Yi, you wanted me." Then she lowered her head and held onto the edge of her skirt tightly. Yi Mo sighed. This woman could go get a golden Oscars at Hollywood. He thought she would be perfect to lure those black, bulky men. So why stay at a place like Hua University? Moreover, she seemed to know how to utilize men's weakness. Even though Yi Mo knew there was something wrong with her, he still couldn't prevent himself from having strange thoughts towards her. As though not hearing Yi Mo's reply, she secretly looked at Yi Mo while blushing and looked down. Yi Mo said, "Indeed, I wanted to look for you. Do you have time?" Tomorrow's the weekend." Nia Shuang just said half a sentence. Yi Mo sneered. She was acting innocent too much. Tomorrow is the weekend, so that meant she could go out with him for the entire night. What sort of girl would say that to someone she only met for the second time? She didn't say the second half of the sentence, but any man could imagine it. It seemed to be more enticing left unsaid. "Let's go. You wanted to drink with Zhu Yangqin yesterday, but wasn't able to. How about I take you out for a drink?" Yi Mo said straightforwardly. He felt that frosty feeling on Nia Shuang was weaker today. He didn't want to know who Nia Shuang was, but Yiling still had to stay a month or two at Hua University. He didn't want her to be in danger, so he had to know who Nia Shuang was and what that bleak feeling from her was. If she was a threat to Yiling, he didn't mind doing something good for society. Nia Shuang looked at Yi Mo in shock due to his straightforwardness, but didn't reject. She hesitantly agreed, as though it was hard for her to reject. Drunk Eye Bar is close to the uni, but they didn't sit at the bar and chose a distant corner and sat. "What do you want to drink?" Yi Mo asked casually. If possible, he didn't want to get on bad terms with her. Although he wasn't afraid of her, he didn't want enemies everywhere. So what if Nia Shuang was messing around with other people every day? The reason he asked her out today was to tell her to back off from his sister. Nia Shuang didn't say what she wanted to drink, but instead asked, "Brother, did you ask me out to drink? I feel as though you don't like me very much, but why did you ask me out?" Under the dim light, she seemed more bold and could at least look at Yi Mo when she talked. "Since you can tell I don't like you very much, why did you come out with me?" Yi Mo asked with derision. She didn't seem to notice it and said feebly, "Because the first time I saw you, I feel this intimacy from you, So you like me?" Then Yi Mo told the waiter to serve to beer. He wasn't here to drink today. Nia Shuang suddenly raised her head and said, "Yes, Brother Yi, although it's not to the degree of liking you, but I have a great impression of you. It's the first time I had this feeling coming here. So today, when you said you wanted to drink, I came with you without hesitation. But why are you talking to me with this tone? I don't even know what your name is." Yi Mo sneered. "Good impression, if you're still a virgin. Perhaps I would have some good impression to you. Now, don't talk about good impression in front of me." Originally, Yi Mo wanted to have a talk with her, but seeing how she kept this act up, he suddenly felt very annoyed. "You!" Nia Shuang suddenly stood up. Her pretty face was shaking under the light. She pointed her hand at Yi Mo and wanted to say something, but she put it back down. After a while, she continued, "You called me out just to say this to me? Do you have no manners around girls? I saw you wrong." Then Nia Shuang turned to leave as though she was really angered by Yi Mo's words. However, Yi Mo sat without moving. He knew that if this woman wanted men's yang essence, she wouldn't let him go because he cultivated pure yang qi. This was probably the good impression in her eyes. However, Yi Mo saw Nia Shuang walk to the door and still had no intentions of turning back. He frowned, but didn't believe he saw her wrong. He still felt the sense of the opposite sex from her yesterday. Plus, this woman had this eerie cold feeling. Yi Mo knew she wasn't a normal person. "Such a hot chick, come in and have a drink with me." Two men who just walked into the bar saw Nia Shuang. One of their eyes brightened up immediately and he grabbed towards her. Nya Shuang Shuang screamed, but couldn't break free. Let's go to a private room. It's much better than outside. Then the grabbed Nya Shuang Shuang walked inside. Many people saw it, and even the bar people, but no one said a thing. They continued to do what they were doing. Nya Shuang Shuang looked helplessly towards Yi Mo. It was obvious she wanted Yi Mo to help her. She saw how strong Yi Mo was yesterday. If he did something, even if he couldn't beat these two, she could break free. Yi Mo, however, was still sipping the beer that was just brought to him as though he didn't see it at all. However, Yi Mo's spirit sense scanned that the eyes Nya Shuang Shuang showed had disappointment, deep disappointment rather than loss and hope. Soon, Nya Shuang Shuang was dragged into a private room by those two scum. The door was then slammed shut. You're also coming to have fun at the bar. What are you scared of? I'll make you very comfortable later. There's plenty of money, don't worry. I'm not someone who just leaves after eating. The man released Nya Shuang Shuang's hands after closing the door. You're also coming to have fun at the bar. What are you scared of? I'll make you very comfortable later. There's plenty of money, don't worry. I'm not someone who just leaves after eating. The man released Nya Shuang Shuang's hands after closing the door. Where did you see me being scared? Nya Shuang Shuang's face was suddenly very bleak. The two men froze when they saw Nya Shuang Shuang at the door. Her face seemed so helpless. With her innocent look, they felt they needed to comfort her first after pulling her in. However, this girl changed her face too quick. The helplessness and innocence turned to bleakness now. The two men felt a frosty feeling from their bones. If this wasn't at a bar and the room lights were still on, they would have thought they met a fox demon deep in the mountains. Who are you? The other man yelled. The girl still had the same face, but it caused them to feel cold and scared. Nya Shuang Shuang sneered. Who am I? Didn't you drag me in? Now that you dragged me in, why aren't you doing anything but asking who I am? Nya Shuang Shuang's cold tone made the two men shiver. Suddenly, they lost all their lust. They had no lust for such a beautiful Nya Shuang Shuang. They just wanted to get out quick. They couldn't understand how a woman changed so much. We're joking. Let's go. Xiao Xiong, let's get out. The man who grabbed Nya Shuang Shuang suddenly said. He didn't want to face Nya Shuang Shuang. He felt his skin was tingling. Go out? Why go out? You pulled me in. Don't you want to do something? Nya Shuang Shuang suddenly said without any tone. Don't want to. The man called Xiao Xiong felt the frigidness in the room and wanted to pull the door open. They didn't want to face Nya Shuang Shuang. Nya Shuang Shuang sneered. Do you think you can still go? What are you saying? The man who held the handle of the door just asked that and felt this long needle pierce the top of his head. The other man just saw a silver light flashed and his pal was on the ground. He wanted to scream, but that silver light also pierced his head. You. The man could only say this word before also falling to the ground. Nya Shuang Shuang dumped these two on the couch. From her easy attitude, it seemed as though these people weren't 70 kilograms but a few kgs. Nya Shuang Shuang looked at the two she killed and was lost for a moment. However, her eyes became cold again. She suddenly pulled the zip on her skirt as though she was taking it off. Clap, clap, clap. Nya Shuang Shuang turned around and saw Yi Mo clapping behind her. She didn't even know when Yi Mo came in. Fascinating, fascinating. I saw these people fall asleep not long after they came in. I see you taking off your clothes too. Do you want to sleep a while too? Yi Mo didn't sound displeased at all. Nya Shuang Shuang's eyes seemed anxious as she quickly pulled the zip on her skirt back and stared at Yi Mo a while before asking, When did you come in? Yi Mo sneered. This isn't what you should ask. It has nothing to do with you. I just didn't want to see an ugly scene, so I came in earlier. Nya Shuang bit her lips until it almost bled. Her eyes seemed red, but she still didn't say anything. What you want to do has nothing to do with me, but I'm afraid after you're done, I will lose my appetite to talk with you. So, I want to say my words first. As for what you do after I leave, it has nothing to do with me, Yi Mo said coldly. Nya Shuang raised her head and looked at Yi Mo, saying word by word, "Do you believe that I can kill you right now with a raise of my hand?" Yi Mo suddenly sat down and pulled out a beer bottle from his storage ring, opened it, and drank a mouth before saying, "I don't believe it." Nya Shuang seemed to have forgotten what she just said and just stared at Yi Mo. He were very little, just a shirt and long pants. Where did he get this bottle from? If it was in his pocket, it would be bulging. "I'm waiting for you to kill me. If you're going to do it, then hurry up, my patience is limited." Yi Mo just saw Nya Shuang kill with needles, but he didn't know where she hid the needles. If she attacked, he would take her needles and have a look. He wasn't so perverted to scan her entire body with his spirit sense. "But I don't want to kill you, I really don't." Then the bleak look on her face retreated. She paused for a moment before continuing, "You knew I could deal with them, so you didn't help me, right?" Yi Mo shook his head. "Even if I didn't know if you could deal with them, I wouldn't do anything. Who knows if you wanted it anyways, because you're this sort of person." Nya Shuang suddenly started to shake as her face grew pale again. Her hands even moved a few times, but eventually stopped. "Speak, what do you want?" Nya Shuang's tone was no longer sweet, but low and bleak. Yi Mo said coldly, "I know your origin isn't ordinary, and I don't know what you're doing at Hua University. However, there's one thing I need to persuade you. You can think of it as a warning. Yi Ling is my sister. You better not touch half a strand of her hair. Otherwise, no matter who you are, I won't let you go." "Yi Ling is your sister." Nya Shuang studied Yi Mo again and seemed to be shocked. Nya Shuang was just shocked for a short time and recovered quickly. She said, "I've been at Hua Uni for a few years. Who did you see me touch? Regardless of whether or not you're Yi Ling's brother, I wouldn't touch her." Yi Mo said plainly, "Not necessarily. You and Zhu Yangqing are such good friends, but you could harm her much less other people. So, I don't really believe your words." "When did I harm Zhu Yangqing?" "You're wrong. Indeed, you saw me kill these people today, but don't think everything you see is reality. I don't want to explain to you. I can make an oath, but not because I'm scared of you, but because—" Nya Shuang's eyes went red again. Yi Mo looked coldly at her. If she didn't make a deadly oath, then she could expect not to walk out of this room today. "I, Nya Shuang, swear that if I have any bad intentions towards Yi Ling, I would be struck by lightning and never have the chance to enter reincarnation." Nya Shuang spoke, and even shed tears. Yi Mo wouldn't care about her tears, but he was quite satisfied with her oath. No matter who Nya Shuang was, this oath was quite serious. It was believable when a cultivator made such oath. Seeing Nya Shuang make the oath, Yi Mo stood up. He didn't care about what Nya Shuang did with the two dead people. However, Nya Shuang walked to the door first and turned and said, "Whether you believe it or not, I can kill you easily, but I didn't. And I want to tell you I'm still a virgin." Then Nya Shuang turned and left. After walking out a long way, Yi Mo's voice sounded at her ear. "Whether you believe it or not, the moment you attacked, you would have died. As for whether or not you're a virgin, it has nothing to do with me." Nya Shuang suddenly turned around. She found that she was outside of the bar, but Yi Mo was nowhere to be seen. She was astonished. Was that sound just an illusion? Yi Mo looked at the two dead men and walked out. He didn't deal with the body. It didn't concern him if he was investigated for it. When Yi Mo came back, he found out that Yi Ling had returned and was talking with Yunbing. It seemed they had been chatting for a long time. "Brother, you're finally back. Why did you come back at 2?" Yi Ling was obviously unhappy he came back so late. Yemo smiled and said, "You came from so far, aren't you going to sleep?" "I'm leaving Beijing tomorrow." "You're going tomorrow? Are you going back to Luotsang?" Yunbing was worried. "No, I'm doing some business." Yemo couldn't say what he was doing. "Brother, can you turn your phone on? I can never reach your phone." Ling still wanted to catch up with Yemo, but he was leaving tomorrow. Yemo didn't care about his phone and instead said to Yiling seriously, "Yiling, don't get close to Nye Shuang from your school, do you understand?" "Why?" "Brother, she's the prettiest in the school and likes to keep a low profile. We rarely talk, do you know her?" Yiling asked in surprise. Yemo felt relieved and said, "I don't know her, but trust my words. After you graduate, if I'm still not done, you can go Luotsang. Brother, after Zifeng comes back, you should talk to him. In fact, I don't agree to him staying at the Yi family, but he said it was very hard for Grandpa too. He wanted to help Grandpa, and he said the main reason Grandpa got him back was due to you." Although Yiling didn't want to stay at Beijing, she was worried about Yi Zifeng staying here himself. Although her big and fourth uncle was sent away from Beijing, who knew if the other members of the Yi family would do something to Yi Zifeng. Yemo nodded. Yi Zifeng saw things more clearly than Yiling, but it was impossible for him to try to persuade Yi Zifeng. Everyone had their own life. Seeing Yemo look down and not talk, Yiling suddenly thought of one thing and quickly said, "Brother, Zifeng told me to give this to you. He said it was related to your mom." You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.